This week on London Real, I travel to Guthrie Castle in Scotland to be mentored by Dan Peña, the $50 billion man.
All the high-performance guys and gals that I know are exactly the same. They push, and they're not afraid of, stepping on their dick. They're not afraid of failure. They're not afraid of embarrassing themselves. It's fucking hard to be a high-performance person and be at the top of your game. When I don't feel like being productive, I tell myself, you cunt, you're gonna do it anyway. I believe in baptism by fire. We've had people pass out, people shit their pants.
Jesus Christ.
I am special. There's no fucking doubt about it. My whole life I've been in the flow. I was doing Spartan shit 40 fucking years ago. The only thing I can't control is you giving up on yourself. I help people do what they don't want to do to be what they want to be.
London Real presents Dan Peña, the $50 billion man.
I treat everybody the same, like shit.
What you're about to witness for the next 2 hours is something unique and something very rare, because I lived this experience. I went on this adventure. From the first day I met Mr. Dan Peña, which was about 6 months ago for our first episode on London Real, to the following 2 weeks of my life. For the previous 2 weeks, I've made a journey up to Guthrie Castle in Scotland, which is where Dan lives and Dan teaches his seminars. I interviewed him before the process, and then I went through 7 days of intense training with him while I lived in the castle, and then afterwards I did a second interview. And you'll get to watch both of those today. You'll get to see probably me change, probably my demeanor change, probably the way I interact with him. And if you've now gone ahead and read the article I wrote about the whole experience, which I really I recommend that you read, because it really tells you how I felt, and it's pretty personal, and it's something I think a video can't necessarily show you. So that's on londonreal.tv on the blog section. Definitely check that out and give it a read. And also, I posted 3 videos when I was up in Scotland during the week, after day 1, day 3, and day 5 or 6, I believe. And you can kind of maybe see the way I was feeling. I don't think these are my best videos, but I kind of gave you what it was like to be in the immersive experience that is QLA, which is the quantum leap advantage, which is Dan's term for really his whole persona, the way he instructs people to achieve success. And in one way, I guess his goals are to allow you to amass wealth in 3 to 5 years that would normally take a generation, but it's really much more than that. And I think you might understand that once you watch these 2 interviews. But it's kind of a rare piece you have, because there's a before and after. I have done this before with other mind-changing experiences like ayahuasca and DMT, but I've never done this with a person. As you know, I was joking that I was going up to Scotland to drink the Pena Oscar, and little did I know that's exactly what happened. I really had a transformative mental experience that was, thanks to Dan and being around Dan. And it's, as I wrote in my article, it's really hard to convey Dan in a 2D experience on a video. In fact, I think it really is a misrepresentation of Dan, because he can just kind of come off like not a grumpy old man, but he can just like talk about this and talk about that. But when you really spend the time with him, and he spends 8-9 hours a day teaching you and pushing you, and then you spend the other 4 hours, hanging out with him and dining with him and seeing everything that he's about, then it's really a 4D experience. And so it's something that I had the pleasure of doing. You're about to watch kind of my before and after experience, and I hope you enjoy this. I hope it teaches you something. I have the next 11 months and 3 weeks to look forward to, as I will be giving Dan weekly updates, accounting for every hour of my day and what I've been doing to push myself and my business forward. The first one has already gone by, and it was brutal. He was not impressed, to say the least, and I would expect nothing more from Dan. So I really hope you enjoy these interviews. Just want to say that I was given full access the whole time I was there to Dan, and the great thing about Dan is he doesn't really have a brand and he doesn't really have a product at the end of the day. Sure, he does his castle seminars, but they're really limited to, you know, 15 people, and he only does 4 or 5 a year. So for Dan, there's no upsell, there's no book, there's no this or that. So he really doesn't give a fuck about a lot of things, and it's that political incorrectness that I think I'm really drawn to, and a lot of us are, and it's just a breath of fresh air today when so many things that we see and watch come with a logo at the bottom and a book of designs and the things that we're allowed to say and not to say, and there's just none of that with Dan. He will post anything and everything he says, and he'll say whatever it takes to get you to do what he wants you to do. And yeah, sometimes he comes off like a gunnery drill sergeant, and sometimes he comes off like General Patton, and sometimes you know, like other figures in history. And you know, don't get it twisted. Dan is a gruff guy, but he's also a very emotional guy. And if you can see some of those clips he puts on YouTube, you know, when Dan gets emotional about something, and when it comes to pushing us or success or some of the events in his life, you know, you can hear his voice kind of crack a little bit, and that's when Dan's getting emotional. And you know, it's real. It's fucking real, and I guess that's what I like about Dan. And so I think that's probably enough said. So you're about to watch an interview I did the day before all of the other students arrived. It was shot at Guthrie Castle, and then afterwards I shot another interview with Dan, and we talked about the transformation I went through that week, and I kind of talked to him how I felt, and he kind of explains the design he had for what he does with his QLA treatment. So there you go. If you enjoy this, please send it on to friends and family, and yeah, give me a comment, and any feedback would be of course welcome. So there you go. That's the Dan Peña treatment. I just wanted to give a big thanks out to the people that make this show possible, and we appreciate them very much. And those are the guys at Monkey Nutrition. I am still working on my muscle up. I was at the Maida Vale bars this morning with my man Roger, and by using their Primal 26, I'm getting a bit stronger in the upper body, and I feel like I'm close, but this is a never-ending saga. But it's frustrating, but that's okay. It's about the journey, and I learned that through jiu-jitsu, that sometimes it takes 6 months, a year to get a technique, and then to pull it off in a sparring or fighting situation, you know, that can take even longer. So you just got to put in the hours and put in the time, and it'll come. So I'm going to stick with that, and big thanks to those guys. You can get 5% off by using the code LondonMonkey, and click on the logo here. You can go to their site and pick up any of their good stuff. I'm still testing out the modulator, so I'll report that back in the next few episodes, and just want to give them a big thanks. And there you go. Next week we've got Ben Greenfield on, who is a serious Ironman triathlete. He competes at the top of his game, and he does the Hawaii ones. Now he's into Spartan races, and he competes for the best of the Spartan races, and he's a biohacker extraordinaire. He can go down any rabbit hole when it comes to so many different techniques. He's against electromagnetism, doesn't like motors, doesn't like Wi-Fi, and he's a really interesting guy, and a real passionate guy, and a real emotional guy, and I really had a great talk with him. So that's coming next week. And then I sat down with the poet Anthony Anaxagoru this week. Fascinating young man from London, 31 years old, and he dropped this poem on me at the end. It's called "This Is Not a Poem," and I almost broke out in tears. It's something I'm doing a lot these days. Dan Peña's making me cry. London poets are making me cry. So I don't know what's going on. I'll keep you posted. So that's coming up, and I'm looking forward to both of those guys on the show. If you've got any ideas for guests, hit me up. I think somebody gave me Anthony's idea, and 48 hours later he was in the studio. So thank you so much for your suggestions. Trust me, I read every single one of them, and I'm on it. So big thanks to that. And finally, I'm getting very excited for the Bulletproof Diet book. It's coming out early December. I've already pre-ordered a copy for myself and 2 as gifts to other people. And if you pre-order that now, you can click on the logo. You'll get 9 free videos, and there's only a month left until those go away. You can't get that after the book is published. And it's a fantastic diet. The coffee, as you know, I make every day. It's a coffee that's free of molds and toxins. Yeah, I mix it up with the brain octane oil and the grass-fed butter. I was drinking it every day in Guthrie Castle, and so was Dan Peña, even though he says it doesn't affect him, but nothing affects Dan. You know, he's like Superman. So big thanks to Dave Asprey. Looking forward to that diet book coming out. Get yourself a copy, pre-order it, and make that happen. And again, big thanks to them for the show. So now I want you to strap in, maybe go get some Bulletproof, get a big mug of that, and watch me for the continuing saga of Mr. Dan Peña, the $50 billion man. This is 6 months after my first interview with him. If you want, go watch that. That was when I first met him in the studio. I wasn't very impressed with Dan. I didn't like Dan. Dan got in my business. Dan got in my face, questioned my motives, questioned my business. And 6 months later, I went up to Scotland and I got Peña-fied. So this is my journey. I'm curious what you think of me. I think I act very differently before and after these 2 interviews. So let me know. Send me some emails. Give me some feedback. Brian@londonreal.tv. And as it says on the tagline, it's about the journey. And here you go. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. We have a special edition. I am here in Scotland at Guthrie Castle with Mr. Dan Peña, who is the American-born businessman, entrepreneur, mentor, and soon-to-be reality television star. You call yourself the $50 billion man because your mentoring program has created $50 billion in equity and value for your students in the past 20 years. I hear the number is really somewhere in the 9 figures. We'll talk about that later. I am attending this very same QLA mentoring program starting in 2 days. I'm expecting big things, crazy things. We're going to get into that. QLA stands for your patented quantum leap advantage methodology, which you use to create $450 million out of $850 at the oil company Great Western Resources. Dan Peña, welcome back to London Real.
Thank you very much for having me again. I'm looking forward to the number 2 interview.
You know, it's been 6 months, Dan, since we sat down and talked to each other. So much has changed. I've changed. Look, I'm wearing a suit now. I'm in a castle interviewing you.
I've noticed.
Maybe you're making me raise my game. I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't know if we're developing a friendship. I don't even know if you have friends. As you said, eagles soar alone, which I respect. You know, I don't even think I wanted you on the show originally. I don't even think you had anything good to say about podcasters. Not that that's what I consider myself, but tell me about your life in the last 6 months since we met. Your show had a record-breaking 40,000 plus views. I said my fans were either going to love you or hate you, and they obviously love you, or at least a lot of them do. I think you got thousands of emails asking about you and your methodology. Walk me through the last 6 months. What's it been like?
You aired the show, if I remember correctly, on Easter Sunday.
That probably was right.
Okay.
Late April.
Okay, it was Easter Sunday. And I said that I don't mind going heads up against the big man. Okay.
Are there some connotations and allusions there?
Exactly, there are. There are several. But since then, I had heretofore underestimated or overlooked or made a mistake in judging the effectiveness of social media in general and podcasts and interviews specifically. Subsequent to that, I got a lot of emails, I've got a lot of tweets, etc., from London Real followers. In fact, I was just coming into this interview, I said that I just was reading, I got 3 emails from one of my assistants. 2 of the 3 were from London Realers, as I call them. But one of the London Real guys wants to come to the January seminar, and then he's going off to the Army. And now I've had people go to the, be in the Army, then come to the seminar, but I've never had anybody that decided that he thought that would be a good foundation for his military experience. So we've had a lot of interest. We've had a lot of people. 99% of actually 99.9% of all the feedback I get from your guys, your followers, is positive. I've got less than 5 people that have had anything not nice to say to me that have contacted me. But it's been overwhelming. From that, when I saw how overwhelmingly successful it was, I immediately, within 10 days or 2 weeks, decided I need a podcast. So I started my own podcast. In fact, we just issued the 8th episode of my podcast about 5 days ago.
And you step your game up every episode.
Correct.
I could tell. The audio steps up, the video steps up.
Well, now I have a studio.
Right.
Now I have a studio.
You
and
built a studio for the podcast.
Yes. And now behind me on the, not green screen, but the actual screen, it's got these logos, $50 billion man. I'm sitting in a chair, like a bar stool. I have cue cards, automatic cue cards, rolling the questions in front of me. I've got all this pyrotechnic stuff, pictures, and I'm having a lot of fun. I put one out every 2 weeks. And but in addition to that, I've been asked to be on several other high-profile podcasts, not the least of which is I just was interviewed by Dave Asprey at his 3-day biohacking conference. By the way, I didn't know what biohacking meant. I had never heard that terminology ever. Hacking I'd heard, bio I'd heard, but we'll talk about that later. And so,
because you flew to LA to the biohacking conference in order to do a live interview with Dave Asprey.
Yeah.
You requested this, right?
No, well, no, he requested that I be on his show because he heard me through Peter Sage again.
Right.
Peter had been interviewed by Dave, and Peter said that if you want to go to the horse's mouth, you go to the guy that wrote the book, 100 million, Your First 100 Million, and he contacted me. We had a lot of difficulty getting the actual appointment set up.
Right.
And so I said, well, you don't know this, Dave, but I'm attending your conference next week. And he said, well, hell, I'll interview then. And that's exactly what happened. And so I attended the conference and he interviewed me. And it's coming out on the 28th of this month. And so it'll be an interesting backdrop to how I got there because through you. So several other people have contacted me. I've done a couple other podcasts that haven't been aired yet. And I guess 4 of the top 10 podcasters, and that's an elusive number. What is the top 10? Everybody's got a different number, okay? iTunes, YouTube downloads, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, 3 or 4 of the alleged top 10 podcasters I've been interviewed by. And there's 2 or 3 more that I'm going to be interviewed by. And so it's really opened up Pandora's box. Well, part of that Pandora's box has been, it was suggested, he says, Dan, have you ever thought about a documentary or a reality show? Well, as it is, I had considered it many years ago, but I decided not to do it. But now I have a talent agent, William Morris, WME, are my agents.
Big agent.
Big, they're the first or second, depending on how you count the numbers. Biggest talent agent, Ben Affleck and Tom Cruise and those kind of guys. Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is they call me a talent and being discovered. Now, I'll be 70 my next birthday. And all of us, I'm a talented guy in a lot of ways, but I've never been called a talent. And I sure as hell have never been considered as a new discovery. But they put me in touch with production companies. In fact, I had an audition about 4 days ago. They wanted to see if I had camera presence, if I had the same charisma in front of a camera.
Didn't they watch your London Real episode? I mean...
Amen, brother. That's exactly what the fuck I said. Anyway, I flew to London. I did it. And then at the last minute, just before, 24 hours before I'm going to go on screen, they said, we'd like to bring in a foil protagonist.
Ooh.
And so I thought to myself, and of course my agent is thinking I'm going to say no. And I said, well, what the fuck, I don't care. And so anyway, so we went and we spent about a half an hour, 40 minutes going through my spiel, this before on camera. And they said, oh, we don't want you to waste all your good stuff. We want to put you on camera now. And so I looked at them directly and I said, I could do this from today till tomorrow. I've got a million stories. And so they brought in a kid, 24-year-old kid, named Ollie.
Okay.
And I felt sorry for the kid. When I asked 6 different times, do you want me to be the real me? Do you want me to do the full Monty? Do you want me to rip off his head and shit down his neck? I went on and on and on. Absolutely. I said, okay, I know how to do this. So I'm in a room, they're filming me, similar to this setup with a bunch of cameras. And the kid walks in and he goes to sit down. Hey, you're not fucking sitting down. You're out of work fucking kid, dopehead bum. You stand when you talk to me. That's how the interview started. And
he wasn't prepared. Did he know who you were?
Yeah, well, no, I don't know if he knew. Okay. He was 24 years old, semi-unemployed. He sold kebabs.
Okay.
But he sold vegetarian kebabs. He will not touch.
Was this a Dragon's Den scenario? Was he trying to pitch you something?
No, yeah, well, yeah. He wanted to pitch me how he can turn his life around. Was I interested?
Okay.
Okay. And he not only can't eat meat, he can't touch anything that touched meat, and he can't look at meat. I said, what the fuck? Are you for real? Anyway, and he came, he was wearing a kind of a wrinkly shirt and a pair of jeans. And I went through, I asked him about profit margins and all this stuff, and he didn't know anything. How much do you make a week? I make between 100 and 300 pounds a week. Between 1 and 300. Well, are you closer to 100 or 300? And we drilled down, and he didn't know anything. And so I said, you dropped out of school. Why'd you drop out of school? Because I didn't like the structure. I didn't have to like showing up on time. And he went through this whole litany of things that is what you would normally want an employee to do. But he didn't like any of them. And at the end, I said, so you're a shiftless bum? He says, yeah, I guess so. And then I said, you're a fucking mama's boy? Yeah, I guess so. Your dad thinks you're shit? Yeah, he does. And I went, and he just kept, and after about 20 minutes, they pulled him out of the ring. They threw in the white towel, and they pulled him out, and they started asking me questions. And when I could see them beyond the camera, that they looked stunned. They looked as white as this piece of paper, the production company people. And so then they said, well, tell us how you'd wrap this up, if whether you would choose him or not. I said, choose him? I wouldn't have interviewed the fuck to begin with. I would have thought that you had more presence of mind to put somebody in front of me that had a pair of balls, that could talk, could speak English, that wasn't a wimp fuck. Anyway, so they said...
Is this the potential format for this series?
No, this is just one format.
This was just a test. Okay.
A test.
All right.
And they said, well, you obviously can perform in front of a camera.
Was it too much?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was too much.
Okay, right.
I thought I was.
Because you can't swear on television anyways.
Well, no, I asked him that.
Oh, right.
I asked him that. And right now, there's two different stations that are looking at it. One is a cable station, and one is not BBC, but another major station. And they said both times, they said, you can use bad words. Okay. And the one case, they'd bleep them out like they do for Ramsey, you know, the chef
People
guy.
like that. People
okay.
like that.
And they said that, but this kid, and then after I went through this whole litany of stuff, they said, so you wouldn't take him under your wing? And I said, are you deaf? What did I just say?
So what's happening? Is this going to happen?
Oh, well, it still might happen. And at the same time, we're talking to people in the U.S., and we're also talking about a potential documentary, Rags to Riches, Barrio Boy to Laird of Guthrie Castle, but that has happened because of my London Reel experience, okay?
Because you took that experience and you pushed yourself. It's not like William Morris was calling you. You just, you put the feelers out about the reality show.
Correct.
You got excited about...
I got passionate like I do about everything.
Right.
Now, it may all fail. It may all fall to shit. But I've accomplished in 6 months, especially since I've done research about these other guys that have that do podcasts. I've accomplished more in 6 months than these guys have accomplished in 5-6 years. And but I push, and when I don't hear from them, I follow up, and I push the edges of the envelope. But all the high performance guys and gals that I know are exactly the same. They push, and they're not afraid of stepping on their dick. They're not afraid of failure. They're not afraid of embarrassing themselves. And I just wrote an email to my initial contact to a lot of this stuff, because she asked me, how are they treating you? Are they treating you well? And this is the agent of a big-time star, okay? I don't know the star, but I know the agent. And so, and I wrote back, similar to what I'm telling you, except on email. It took me 2 hours because I type like this. And I said that I'll be in LA in the first week in December, and I'll tell you vividly what happened. But if you can stick a foot up somebody's ass to make things happen quicker, I'd be appreciative.
Well, you are persistent. I'll give you that. And when I was on the Rogan show, I put out a challenge to anybody in the world to start their own reels. And a few guys started them, and a few guys quit them. And there are a few that are out there. But you obviously took the bull literally by the horns. And every 2 weeks, I see you with a new podcast with the improved format, with the improved format, with the improved format. So this is what you do.
Yeah, but this is how I handle all business relationships. And this is the same pressure I put on the kids from the seminar.
All right.
The same intensity, when I look at their weekly reports, I can tell at the very most by the third weekly report if they're online, if they're not. Normally, I can tell the first weekly report, and if they're not, I stick my foot up their ass and I tell them what to do and how to do it.
This is after the seminar, the weekly reports.
This is after the seminar.
All right, let's talk about the seminar.
Okay.
Because I'm going into what do we call it? The dragon's lair?
You're going into the eye of the tiger.
The eye of the tiger, the eye of the storm.
Correct.
So Monday, I get my first dose.
Tomorrow night, the welcoming dinner.
Welcoming. So
which I'm kind of, not nice that's not the right word.
Okay.
But I'm more cordial.
Okay. Now look, let me tell you a couple things. I'm no spring chicken. All right, I was in a fraternity when I was at MIT. Let me just tell you a few things. And I got there, and for a weekend at MIT, the first time you get there, they romance you, and you have a rush weekend.
Sure.
And then you move right away into the house, and you become a pledge. And come Hell Week, everyone's nice when they come back after Christmas, and in the morning, they wake us up with pots and pans and beat the living shit out of us for 5 days, try to make us quit, and if you don't quit, then you're brothers. So is that what I'm expecting from you?
Except I don't hit anybody anymore. I used to. In the 90s, I hit people. I physically hit them. But I don't do that anymore.
Okay, that's probably good.
Yeah. But,
all right.
So the first morning, we start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we finish about 5 or 6 at night, depending on what we got through. And we don't, I tell people, you're not here to make friends. You're not here to network.
It's not a networking event. Someone asked me, they're like, oh, you're going to network with, because there's a full house. We got 16 people here.
Correct.
Someone asked me that yesterday, you're here to network. I said, no. Peña's doesn't do the networking thing.
No.
Peña does the let's get your brain rebooted.
Correct.
What it feels
That's a great analogy.
And I mean, let's be honest. I'm picking apart what you're doing here from a social aspect. First of all, you're looking for a commitment from people. Because I read your book. You've got a great ebook out there. People want to read it. It's like 30 pages long. And you said you used to do webinars and this kind of thing, but now you want people that are committed. They're going to pay the price, literally and figuratively. They're going to come up to here for a week. This is no joke, to get up here to Scotland. Yeah. And they're going to get away from their comfort zone, get away from their family. I mean, this is a bit like SEAL training, right? You're stripping them down, cutting off communication, and now you want to put them through the ringer. You want to break them down. Is that what's going on
Exactly.
here?
For the first 3 days, and I'll say this tomorrow night when we're all having cocktails before dinner the first night. You're going to ask, there used to be a commercial in the U.S. 15, 20 years ago, where's the beef?
I love that commercial.
Okay, well...
You're dating yourself if you know that a bit.
Okay,
I know it.
For the first 2 or 3 days, we talk a lot about psychological aspects of why people aren't successful, emotional bank accounts, et cetera, et cetera. And we don't really get to the beef, because one of the first slides during the introduction, I said, a lot of you are here as, how do I get the fucking money? That's the only thing. They don't care about Dan Peña, QLA, anybody. Okay, how do I get the fucking money? Okay, we get to.
I hear that all the time.
Okay,
Brian,
we get to how do you get the fucking money about the end of the third day or the beginning of the fourth day. Okay,
all right, so I should stay for that.
Yeah, you should stay for that. But it's the reason why you haven't gotten the fucking money is that what the first 3 days are all about. Okay. From reading through everybody's file yesterday, and again, I read them again today.
So just so people know the detailed information, I broke down everything going on with my business, with my personal life. I took the success test. I took a psychology test that basically, I think it's trying to break down my own barriers, how I limit myself,
Correct.
My own self-esteem issues, other people in my life bringing me down, including my wife or girlfriend or my parents or my kids.
Absolutely.
And it was interesting because I wasn't expecting some of these questions. It was maybe 20%, 30% financial. The rest was almost more emotional.
Correct.
Okay.
And because, as I said on the first time you interviewed me, we have 2 bank accounts in life. We have an emotional bank account and a financial bank account. And the reason our financial bank account isn't where we necessarily want it to be is because of our emotional bank account. And, some people are risk averse. Some people, not some, almost all people are risk averse. It's at what level you consider what's risky and what's not risky.
It's strange to hear you say that, because when most people think of Dan Peña, they think hard dollars and cents, fuck you, where's my money? And when I think of emotional bank account, I think more of a Peter Sage conversation I had. So I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Those are linked.
Absolutely.
Emotional and financial bank
Absolutely.
account.
They're absolutely linked. And depending on how strong your emotional bank account is, will absolutely determine how big your financial bank account is. And in the early years, speaking about Peter, in the early years, Peter had an extraordinarily large emotional bank account for a young kid. For a young kid that dropped out of school at 16 and, you know, no education, and went and made millions in the property market. I mean, you know, and then the more success you get, it begets success. And then he hung around with successful people. Other successful people wanted to be part of his, get on his bus, as Oprah Winfrey would say. And, you know, the rest is history. And in a very, not the same kind of way, I didn't have success. And as I've said before, my first high performance act was when I graduated from OCS. When I was 21 years old, entered at 20, graduated when I was 21, but I had never accomplished anything. And the rest, when I saw that I could compete against other people, better educated, better physical shape than I was, tougher than I was, you know, the rest was history. So we will break it down, and then the last 2 or 3 days, we also have role playing from the first day. Some people will be good at the role playing to begin with, some people will be poor at the role playing to begin with, and I may ask the same person to role play 4 times. Not because I'm picking on them, because I want the fucker to improve, okay? And I believe in baptism by fire, okay? You get better, the more your skin gets burned. And some people we have an actor in this group too.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, English actor. And so, but we had an actress before. She was smooth as baby shit. I mean, no matter what we asked her, she could just do it because she was used to it. But she has trouble putting it into practice in real life.
Right, right.
So I try to tell her, just say pretend there's a cue card in front of you and do it. And so some of the kids that are, you know, the kids that are in their early 20s, we've got a kid, a very successful kid who's only 22 years old, an Israeli kid coming. And but he made a lot of money when he was 15. Okay, so
and what's the rest of the breakdown look like? You got a 43-year-old successful video talk show host. You got a 22-year-old kid. Who else do you got? I mean,
we've got an actor. We've got a dentist, an American dentist.
What's the international feel like? What countries are people coming?
China, South America, the United States, Canada, Romania, Australia, the UK.
And they're all coming to meet me, right?
Yeah, they're all coming to meet you. But, you know, 4 or 5 of them are by way of London Real.
Okay.
4 or 5 of them are coming by way of London Real. And it's amazing how somebody else, just a month ago, they'll say, I just read or just listened and saw London Real. I saw you. Or they'll say, I saw Peter Sage and he mentioned you, and so then I listened to you. And because Peter was on a year ago and I was on 6 months ago. So, I mean, as you told me, a lot of people, you know, keep it and look at it months later, many months later.
Yeah.
And that's why you have such a large following and YouTube download, etc.
Yeah, we are pretty much the #1 search on YouTube for all of my guests. And YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine in the world. So if you put Dan Peña in, it's at the top, and it just continues to tick the views open. So that'll probably keep happening, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
it's...
And talk to me about I mean, for those first few days, what have been the reactions from people? Do you get people that want to leave? Do you get people that want to cry? Are you nicer to some people because you can tell not to push them? I mean, you must have to give a little bit or not push a little bit.
No. Well, okay, we've had people piss their pants. We've had people pass out. We've had people shit their pants.
Jesus Christ.
A partner in a Big 4 accounting firm shit his pants. The person that passed out was a psychiatrist. We've got Harvard medical doctors. We've got...
Why would they pass out? Why would they pass out?
They just did.
Oh, okay.
Just the stress.
Okay.
The stress. Because I push a lot of buttons. And when I find... Well, I already know from reading everybody's paperwork pretty much what the buttons are.
Buttons are.
Yeah, but then when I experiment, because I changed the last 3 days, I changed the seminar slides to be specifically be able to interact with the wants and needs of the people at the seminar. There's 1,500 PowerPoint slides. 300 of them are interchangeable, depending on the group. So I will go back and change, and I've got another 500 or 600 slides that I can put in, And I go back, if I think we need more time on this, I'll spend more time on this. And I give normally at least 5 examples of every point that I make in the seminar. 5. Because this dipshit might not be able to get it.
5 examples of your life, or different examples?
No, a couple of me personally.
Okay.
And 2 or 3 of, now I've got a whole stable of mentees. So, I mean, I can give examples, and there's going to be 2 current superstars at the seminar. In fact, you'll meet them tomorrow, because the
superstars are repeat guys.
Bavarian Bob, back for his 8th time, paid 8th time. And Marcus, the former world-class Olympic skier on the Vienna Austrian ski team. He's coming back for the 6th time.
Jesus. Has anyone ever said, fuck you, Dan Peña, I'm walking out the door?
No, I've thrown a couple out, but nobody's ever said that. No, I take that back. One Romanian walked out the door because he said I was making fun of him, calling him a gypsy, a Roma. But then when we came back in the afternoon, he was sitting in the library. And I thought you left. He says, no, you were right. You're right.
I'll be the first if I walk.
Yeah, if you walk, you'll be there'll be plenty of cunts here, but you may be the first cunt to walk out.
All right, now let me just find out. If we make it through to Saturday, we graduate, and then for the next 12 months, you are on our ass every week or via email. And I mean, I've got some of your emails in the past. And how do you?
You loved them.
I did like a lot of them. I mean, you give
a shit. You didn't respond to all of them, but
I didn't respond to all of them, and I'll never live that down.
Yes.
Respond to Dan Peña's emails. But you know, you write a lot. You obviously spend a lot of time on those emails.
It's important to me.
Okay.
Why should these things be more important to me than the person I'm writing? That should be just the opposite.
I know. Why is this important to you, Dan? Why mentor? Why not be out there and be Alan Sugaring? Why not be Trumping? Why not be doing these things where these guys want to get more wealth? They want to do more accomplishments. They want to show the world.
Because when I took $820 and turned it into $450 million in 8 years in a declining market, I realized, and kids, you're not going to believe this or understand it, it ain't that hard. It just ain't that hard. And I didn't go to MIT. And
you're forgiven for that.
Okay. But I had a chip on my shoulder for many years that I didn't go to one of those kind of proper schools. And I think I told the story the first time I fired some Harvard MBA, and then about the 50th Harvard or Stanford MBA that I fired, I realized it didn't mean anything. But I realized it wasn't that tough. And thankfully, my shareholders, and I'm sorry that Iraq invaded Kuwait. My biggest shareholder was Kuwaiti government. They own 30% of my business. And, but they needed somebody, and the stock price dropped 80%. And when the stock drops 80%, didn't matter that Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, they needed somebody to fall on the sword. So they threw me out. Okay. So, but in hindsight, it was the best thing, the second or third best thing that ever happened to me. I left with 12 million shares. Not bad, 12 million shares. I had quite a bit of money. Not Zuckerberg money, but enough to get by.
I like how you're quoting an internet 20-something guy for the money. Okay,
yeah,
right.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so I decided, what am I going to do? And one of my best friends, a guy named Bud Grubbs, he said, Dan, you're a great speaker. Why don't you teach? And then he said, so I taught university 1 year. I found it very unfulfilling. Didn't like it. And so, and then what he really meant is, why don't you coach? So I started the QLA seminars. I started seeing how I could make not help, make the kids do what I did. And you could get away with a lot more shit back in the early 90s than you can now.
Meaning what?
I mean...
your behavior.
Yeah. But now they say, we got rights. You can't treat us that way. And in those days, I hit people. I swear to you, I did.
Like popped them in the head?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. I have a writing crop. I still have the writing crop. If I see you dozing off, wham! Yeah, right across your forearm.
That's not happening.
No. Well,
it used to happen. Okay.
Yeah. Right, okay. Well, don't doze off. Because now what I do is I hit right next to your hand on the desk.
That's an old nun trick.
Yes, correct. Yeah, okay. Except the nuns actually used to hit me. Right. So I found I was good at it.
Okay.
And then I started, I didn't think of myself as a latter-day Napoleon Hill in those days. I didn't think of myself that I was going to change. I wanted to change the industry, but I didn't know it would be so difficult getting people to take the hard, bare truth that it's fucking hard to be a high-performance person and be at the top of your game all the time. And one of the things that I learned at Dave Asprey's conference, and for this, I'm ever thankful for, just how like I'm thankful for you to get me started in this stuff.
You're very grateful, Dan, for a guy who, you know, people think is always talking about himself. You are a very grateful guy.
But now I'm grateful. He doesn't even know this, but 75% of all the classes at that 3-day conference, biohacking conference in Pasadena, California, were directly or indirectly about getting in the flow.
Right, flow state. It's very popular these days to talk about.
I never fucking heard of flow state. Okay, the zone I've heard.
Right.
Okay. My whole life I've been in the flow. All these guys taking all these pills, potions, and drugs and electrical machines to get in the flow.
Did you try some of those machines?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
No, didn't do anything.
Okay.
I drank 20-some cups of coffee, what do you call it, coffee? Bulletproof coffee,
yeah.
And I felt nothing. I felt
you felt better.
No, I didn't feel worse, but I didn't feel any different. Because I'm like that all the time. I'm fired up like this all the time.
You are fired up a lot of the
time. And so when I was holding these little talks, mini talks outside the conferences when they come up and talk to me, and they'd say, they expected me to either something to happen to me because I drank so much of the coffee. I wanted to see how much coffee I could drink before I could feel an effect.
Because you said the first day you drank 5.
7 cups. Second day, 8 cups. The third day, more than 9 cups. I mean, no, these are big cups, not like these little cups.
Could you even eat food with all those calories? There's a lot of butter and oil in those.
No wonder I gained weight. I didn't even think of that.
All right, so what did you learn from this biohacking conference?
Okay, I learned that I am in the flow. But I also know that it's mind over matter. Because when I don't feel like being productive, I tell myself, you cunt, you're going to do it anyway. Just like when I didn't feel like going to the gym last night at 11:15 at night. I forced myself to go into the gym. But the thing that it showed me, another thing, I've never meditated in my life, never.
Right.
Okay. The end of the second day, there was a meditation by some master, somebody. And I only went in at the end because I wanted to get a seat up in the front row because everybody would leave. I thought I'd get a seat in the front row. And every day I went to the conference, I'm dressed like this. And there were people going barefoot so they could get to whatever the vibrations from the earth are. I don't know, I don't know what that means, but anyway. And so to say...
You wouldn't do that.
Fuck no. Not in a billion years. Anyway, to say I stood out would be an understatement. Okay, so I'm sitting in there, so I'm in the back of the room with a guy doing his meditation. He says, okay, the last exercise I'm going to give you is, and he tells you what to do, and bend your knees and put your hands like this, like you're holding around a tree, and then concentrate. The bottom line...
Guided meditation.
Yeah, the bottom line, within 90 seconds, I could see through my third chakra, my third eye. 90 seconds.
Dan Peña is looking through his third eye.
You fucking A right, I did.
The whole world's off its rocker.
Okay, you're right. And so, and the guys that were standing around me, now they're all dressed, hugging the ground with their fucking toes. And I tell Sally, I see. And she says, Dan, no. And the other guy I was with, Chris Bonner, a mentee of mine, and he says, I've been trying to do this for 5 years and I can't see. And I said, and so then I realized, and I told Dave this on my interview, and I said, I am special. There's no fucking doubt about it. So then 24 hours later, I don't know if that's metaphysical, I don't know what that is. 24 hours later, I went to visit a friend of mine that was pronounced dead. They took her 9 jolts of the thing to bring her back to life. And they only did the last 2, I wrote about this in my newsletter, on the way back to the hospital, the paramedics say, let's give her 2 more jolts, see what the fuck, maybe we can bring her back. And I'm sitting there talking to Mary at her house, and I'm telling her about this shot. I demonstrated it. I said, I'll do it again. She's standing in the kitchen about where that light is, and I did it again, and I said, you lifted your left arm up. My eyes are closed. You just put your left arm down. Now you're smiling. You're laughing like I'm making this up.
And you're seeing this through your mind.
I'm seeing it.
And that from that one guided meditation. Have you meditated anymore?
No. I'm not gonna.
Why not? Just imagine if you did.
No, I'm high on life. I don't need that shit.
Oh, Jesus.
No. So
I thought you would have been meditating every week, just like the Bulletproof, just like podcasting.
No.
This is the new Dan Peña.
No, yeah, but I get those same results without doing that.
Can always be better. Always can be improving.
That's true. I'll give that some thought, but not a lot of thought.
All right.
Okay. So the irony of this is, now this is the thing that's even more important than the fact that I could see through my third eye. I said, what did you think about Mary? She says, I didn't see any light. I didn't see any of this. Now she's dead 12 minutes. 12 motherfucking minutes. What did you think about? She says, I had a regret. Now I tell people every fucking day, when you die with your fucking regrets, and that's what you think of. But I've never talked to anybody that has actually experienced it. She says, all I could think of is how I fucked she died at her son's rehearsal dinner. She dropped dead. How I fucked my son's rehearsal dinner up and how I fucked his wedding up, and I wasn't going to be there, and I had regret. She says, all I saw was gray and I felt regret. Now, we're all energy, right? Whether we're like this or the chair. Okay. Now listen to me, kids, you fucking idiots. You're going to have fucking regrets. And I'm here to try to minimize your regrets. And that was life-changing to me.
Okay, so there was value added at this conference.
Absolutely.
Just because of that one experience.
Correct.
But you're going to leave your third eye alone, or you're going to empower this in the future?
Well, I don't know. If I have a few drinks tonight, maybe I'll look through it again.
Oh, Jesus. I think you should consider, why don't you just meditate once a week for 10 minutes? You'll be like Dan Peña squared.
Squared, well.
Just a suggestion. Now, okay. I read your newsletter about this third eye, and I was like, Jesus Christ, Dan Peña's, first he's on
Now, is that unusual?
Oh, yeah. Now, you've gone hippie on me. Next thing you're going to be doing... Next thing you're going to be doing is drinking the ayahuasca. That's what's next. I mean, if I was Sally, your wife, I would be worried about you because she's in the last 6 months. You meet Brian Rose. Now you're going to the biohackers. Your third eye. Next thing you're going to be wearing.
Now, can you look through your third eye?
What? Well, when I drink ayahuasca, I think.
Oh no, but I mean just straight up.
No, I can't. I can't say that I can.
Jesus.
No. I find meditation helpful for me. I find I can control myself much better, and I can make myself...
Well, maybe you shouldn't be controlled. Did you ever think of that?
No, I've tried that, Dan, and it doesn't work.
Oh, no, okay.
And you can watch this on my last week's episode of London Real.
Okay.
So I used to do that as a young man, where I wasn't in control. Now,
you're still a young man.
I am still a young man. Yes, I am. And that's what I'm going to learn about this week. You are taking an interest in me, Dan, to invite me to this seminar. You're spending time with me and with everyone else. Why do you feel like mentoring? Why do you feel like mentoring me?
Because,
and why am I a young man? A lot of people, are younger than me at 43, and they think they're old.
Yeah.
You see me as young.
Because because I'm very good at it, and I like doing things that I'm very good at, and I want to try to impact as many people as I can before I go to meet my maker, if there is one. Go to meet my maker, and I want to be known as the very best high performance coach that ever lived. And by dollars and cents, I already am. And even before this, I've created more value and equity for people like yourself. You take the whole fucking industry, cumulatively, since fucking Moses.
This is the what industry?
High performance, success.
Right.
Okay. I don't put life coaching in there because I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Okay. Since the beginning of time, cumulatively, I've created more. And I have thousands and thousands, some people say millions. And the thing that really, the takeaway I want the kids to hear is 99% of the people that I've helped, I've never met. Never met, never talked to, never emailed, never nothing. They got it all either from my book or all my free content, because I don't sell anything, or from Torrent. Go to Torrent, you can get all my shit. Go to Torrent.
Right. That's your USP, is you don't sell anything.
I don't sell anything.
The rest of them, I'm not going to bring up names.
Well, you know
Tony
the name.
Robbins or all these others. He's very successful.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
It, and you don't.
I don't.
Okay. And you quantify your value, which most people don't.
Not most. None do.
Nobody does. And
why don't they quantify it? Because there are not any numbers. That's why.
And people can look up your quantification on your website, right?
Yep. Yes. And you're going to see it in the seminar. And you're going to see that it's a lot more than 50 billion.
But that's only what you can report.
Correct. I can only talk about 50 billion because 2/3 of my mentees, devotees, want the money, but they don't want the notoriety.
Oh, right, right.
And Sally thinks, as a chartered accountant, international tax expert that she is, she thinks, I'm not sure everybody pays taxes, Dan.
Oh, yeah, that's another good point. Why are you helping me, Dan? And what are you going to do with me this
I'm
week?
helping you.
Tell me.
Because you got me
straight.
started. No, I told you
straight.
this before. You got me started on this road, okay? If I hadn't been on your show, I probably would have continued to ignore the value of social media and podcasting, etc. I'm sure I would have.
Or television.
Or any of this. Especially TV, because I had a bad taste in my mouth from my experience 30, 35 years ago when I used to be in the movie business, when I made movies. My claim to fame is that I made the first Penthouse Pet of the Year awards with Bob Guccione. That was kind of the highlight, pinnacle of my career.
That was a TV short, a TV spot.
No, it was a 60-minute shot.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I also did a country western with Dolly Parton and Hoyt Axton, and I did a few other things, but I made a couple of movies. In my group, helped finance Caligula with Guccione, Bob Guccione, the founder of Penthouse. But I mean, it's a
whole nother podcast. But you got soured with that. You got
I
jaded with the
got
industry.
soured. Lost a lot of money. I didn't understand the financial model. Now I do. And I'm not doing the reality show.
And the model's changed.
Yes, yeah, but for sure it's changed. But when I tell these TV producing guys, they're already starting to fight over who's got control of this. I don't give a shit about any of that. I don't expect to make any money out of this, kids.
That shocked them.
Oh, they were gobsmacked, flabbergasted. I don't give a shit. If we get to a second, third, fourth season, then we can argue about money. But there's no money in the first season, or the pilots for sure. And I said, you give the money to the secretaries. Whatever you're going to give me, have a big Christmas party. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Okay.
All right, you were talking about me.
Okay, and so you got me started on this. I sincerely believe, as I've told you privately, that you're leaving a lot on the table. I know you're leaving a lot on the table. Okay. And after looking at your paperwork, I even know better now.
Right. Now,
okay.
For people who don't understand, when you say leaving a lot on the table, what do you mean? I'm not taking advantage of everything I could personally, business-wise? I mean, what do you mean?
Across the spectrum.
Okay.
I think that, I know that you can have a much more vibrant, robust business. I think you would agree with that.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I know that because you're a reasonably bright kid, well-educated, that you can do more personally than you're doing. I know that you're ready for other things in your life that you've mentioned a couple that you're thinking about that you should just fucking do. Guys with your kind of education, not just because you're an engineer, think too much, and therefore they procrastinate.
They overanalyze.
Yeah, and paralysis by analysis, and I'm going to say tomorrow night at dinner, QLA is hardest for these kinds of people to accept. Engineers, accountants, doctors, for slightly different reasons, but okay. It's easier to accept if you're a man of the cloth, because I mentor priests and nuns. And one of my keynote speakers is going to be at my 70th birthday, which you should have gotten an invitation for, the first invitation.
Still waiting on that.
Bullshit.
All right, maybe not.
Okay.
I was waiting for a personal invitation.
Okay, well, no. In this general invitation, it says this will be the first of 3. This is so you can mark it on your calendar, August 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2015. Is going to be a priest, and he'll tell you his story, how I changed his life. But the priests are willing, and the nuns are willing to accept stuff on faith, Brian.
Right. And
a fucking engineer wants a formula.
Right, and the doctors too.
And the doctors have Jesus Christ syndrome because they think that they're really smart, and because they can save lives. Okay. Now the worst combination is either an engineer with an MBA, a doctor with an MBA, and I've had accountant, doctor MBAs, and the more education you have, it's like people I say don't read books, and I don't mean don't read books, but people think that reading books is part of the action plan to be successful. No, it's not. It's an excuse so you don't have to pull the trigger to take action.
I might agree with you. I recently had Ty Lopez on my show, and he is a big fan of people reading books to get ideas, and Charlie Munger is a big fan of reading books, and he said that, and I believe in that, but I think a lot of people just read the books and then don't do anything with it. I love a good audiobook about Google, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I've never done an audiobook.
They're very good, but obviously...
I've only read 10, 15 books in my whole life.
Really?
And I've read them all several times.
That's interesting. All right, let me ask you a question. Now, I
want to finish up about why I'm helping you.
Please.
Okay. I know that if I impact you, because I've already impacted you, when I impact you more, you will be a great collaborator for QLA, because you have a big following.
Collaborator. Okay.
Not collaborator like you're gonna snitch on the CIA or you're gonna on the communists.
Well, I will spread the message.
Correct.
Okay. So I will be a shining example of the wonders of QLA.
Correct.
You're gonna do
and
that.
And if I can do it with you, I can do it with anybody.
Come on, this should be a slam dunk, Pena. Look at me. I'm a self-starter. I'm a go-getter. I do crazy things.
Yeah, but you can be more.
Yes, I can be more. Now, let me ask this question. Now, last time I had the interview with you, we turned the cameras off. We went outside. You were saying, I'm going to change your life, Brian Rose. You also told me that you have a glow about you. And I was like,
I do.
Yeah, I know. You do. And we'll get to that later. And I got home and I was like, I felt like I had drank ayahuasca. I called it the Peñasca. Because like my brain hurt. And part of me says, fuck Dan, and part of me says, all right, we got to keep talking to Dan, and it's very hard to process you. And part of me say, the rational engineer side says this, and I'll be straight with you. It says, look, this is Dan's game. He says, you know something's wrong with you because you could be more successful. Okay, that applies to 98% of the world who's realistic with themselves. I know what's wrong with you. If you listen to me, you'll be more successful, and if you don't, you're an idiot like I thought you were. So by definition, you are right and everyone's wrong.
Yeah.
Is that right what I said?
Yes. Absolutely.
So then isn't this just a con?
No, it's not a con, it's the truth.
It's the truth.
You call it what you want.
But that means you always win. There's no argument against you.
Well, no, I only don't win if you quit.
Okay. Again, that always
And
works.
I take that personally. When somebody quit, I've never given up on a mentee in 21 years. And I can show you, and the mentees that I'm still mentoring 21 years later. The mentor program ran out a long, long time ago. I have no financial benefit from it, but I never give up. The only thing I can't control is you giving up on yourself. Okay. That's the only thing I can't control.
That's real talk. And I'll give you that. And you said you don't make money off these seminars because it's a week. We're here in the castle. And for the next year, you're in correspondence with us. And the price you charge...
I get 4,500 euros an hour to fucking consult. These fucking bums that are coming this week, yourself and can't afford me. They just can't. They think the 10,000 pounds they're paying is a big fucking deal. It's nothing. And when you add up all the hours that I spend, and then I just met with a guy in...
So you're making minimum wage, basically.
Yeah. I tell my accountants I spend about third of my time pro bono. I call this pro bono.
Okay.
And then they said, no, Dan, you're not counting all the churches and all the other shit you do, and you're spending more than a third of the time because when you're reading, I read these reports, I know more about their businesses than you do, and when you've got 50, 60 of these fucking but I am smart.
Right, and you get all the information on the ground floor.
Yeah.
You know what's going on in businesses.
I can only advise you based on what you tell me.
Right.
So I have to assume that's the truth. Now,
you can tell when people are lying.
Yeah, well, I can already tell on some of the reports this is bullshit. I mean, some of these guys are, they must be, whatever they're smoking, I don't know what it is, but I mean, it's not possible.
I decided to treat you like my therapist or my doctor. I did tell you everything.
Okay,
because otherwise, there's no way for you to help.
That's exactly correct.
I could see why a lot of people would want to hold back information. A lot of people are here because they're lying to themselves about a lot of things.
Amen, brother. And it really gets hot and heated, or heat, is that right? Hot and heated? In the private time.
Hot and heavy.
Hot and heavy. In the private time, because everybody spends private time with me.
Right.
And we go over your war plan. It's not an action plan, it's a war plan, because we're going to fucking war. Okay? And I hold you accountable, We write these things down. I hold you accountable. In the first weekly report, I look. See, we have 3 sections of the weekly report, and this is important. First is what did I accomplish this week? The second section is what my plans are, goals are for next week. And the third are problems and challenges. I only put down challenges. I added that word 5-10 years ago, but they're problems. Okay. Now, in the second, and this is all 1 page.
Right. This is every week you follow.
Every week. Okay. There has to be with me by midnight Sunday for the week ending Friday midnight. So you have 2 days to put it together. Shouldn't take you that long. And then I review it the following week and get it back to you before the next week. So, but if the goals for the week 2, assuming we start week 1, are not the accomplishments of week 2, then something's wrong.
Right. Accountability.
Yeah. Plus, you have to account for your time in a day, what you do, who you talk to, a lot of stuff. And some people, the really sharp ones, the ones that get it, the guys that you're going to meet tomorrow, the first 2 guys, the big hitters that are coming to the seminar for the 6th and 8th time, they say that just answering the questions the first couple weeks tells you more about why you're not more successful. Because most people can't follow up in 2 weeks in a row.
Right. Because they're not used to, especially someone with a medium amount of success, they're not accountable to anyone. Am I wrong?
Yeah. And people that are entrepreneurs, small organizations, from third world countries, nobody ever questions them. Their accountants lie for them. Their lawyers lie for them. They cook the books for them. They don't pay taxes. They have 2 or 3 sets of books. Then they come in here and I make them tell me the truth. And sometimes I had a guy from Malaysia who was a very wealthy guy, and I don't tell anybody that. I said, well, then get up and leave. I already got your money, and we give no refunds. Get up and fucking leave. I don't give a shit. I got more time for the others.
All right, tell me, you don't want to make money anymore. That's not your prime directive.
No, I wouldn't mind. I don't throw it away, but that's not my prime motive.
And so then what is this all about? This is all about your legacy. This
Correct.
is all about what Dan's left on the world.
Correct.
So that's important to you.
Yeah, it is.
You're honest about that.
Yeah, I am.
And
I'm selfish about it.
Okay, you're selfish
and I tell
about that.
people, one of the things that you need to do, and I'm stealing my thunder, is you need to be more selfish.
Me?
You, as an individual.
Jesus, all right. I'm not being selfish enough.
No, nobody is.
Okay.
Because you can't love somebody or love what you're doing unless you love yourself. And most people, and I've got a whole section on this, when they look in the mirror, Brian, they don't like what they see. I'm bald. I'm too wrinkled. My tits are too small. My tits are too big. My ass is too... I've got, what do you call it when you got acne? I've got this, you know. My shoulders aren't wide enough, you know. But many people don't like what they see when they look in the mirror.
So you get them to be more selfish and to like themselves more.
Yeah. Love. We don't want love.
Love. Now look, I had a guest on my show about 4 weeks ago. His name is Timothy Sheaf. He's a young guy, a parkour guy, you know, quite a earthy guy, really intelligent. And he said every act that a human does is an act of love or a cry for love. All right? Put that, now just think about that for a second. Now, what you're doing, Dan, now you're saying I should be selfish. You're saying you should be selfish. You're saying you want to push your legacy to the world. But when I take a step back in the bird's eye view and look at what you're doing, you are, in a way, trying to give love to a bunch of people in the world. You're trying to be the warmest teddy bear guy and help all these people. And I know you don't want to admit it,
No, that's not it. I'll put it another way.
You just are masking it in a way of everyone getting success.
No. You're not the first person.
I know, it's not that. Okay. It's not rocket science.
No, it's not. Me doing this is a manifestation of one thing, pure and simple. It's the selfishness that I have, that I want to be the greatest high-performance coach that ever fucking walked the earth. And that manifests itself in me giving my time away free, mentoring for a year free, but to connote any Mother Teresa bullshit to me is horseshit.
You know what I think? I think that's horseshit, and you are giving love to the world.
Well,
and you've been built up as such a tough guy your whole life because you are a tough guy.
I am a tough guy.
And you went to the military, and your dad was a tough guy, and your whole upbringing is a tough guy. That I think the inner Dan couldn't even ever admit to the outer Dan that he's actually acting in kindness to his fellow human beings. And so, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, so you mask it as I'm going to be the greatest performance guy ever. But in fact, I think you are.
Okay, well, that's
giving
fine.
back to the community in a loving way.
Okay, that's you're entitled to your opinion. It's
Fair
a free
enough.
country.
Look,
But in the seminar, it's not a free country. But you can say
Right.
because you're not certainly not the first one that's ever said this to me.
I know.
Okay, and that's what the nuns and the priests say.
To you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, because you've heard this before.
Oh yeah,
of course, right.
and but it's not. And Sally, tonight when we're having a drink at dinner, you ask Sally, and Sally doesn't believe what you say, but she also doesn't think I'm as hard because I'm not hard on her. You know.
She doesn't think you're as hard as you say.
No, she's not. I'm not as hard on her as I am going to be in the next year on you.
Right.
And but the point is that I give people what I help people do what they don't want to do to be what they want to be. You already outlined it in your paper. There's certain things you don't want to do. And you couch it by saying, I don't think this will work. But then when you're honest, you say, but I'm not sure. Well, you're not sure about anything. And I'm going to prove that.
This is me.
You.
Okay.
Okay.
I look forward to that.
Okay. Well, don't worry. You will get it.
Yeah, and everyone gets to see, this is the nice guy, Dan. I think the mean guy, Dan's going to show up on Monday. And that's all right. I'm ready for that guy. Let me ask you a quick question about the QLA. You are notoriously a guy that talks about working 12 hours at a time, 14 hours at a time, forgetting to go to the bathroom, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when I was 25, 26, I wanted to be that guy. I was that guy. I'm from America. We're built that way. You want more, you work more. You want more, you work more. Now, I'm in my 40s, and now I'm like, okay, I got the family time. I got the other time. I got this time. Is that a prerequisite to being successful, is working 100 hours a week? Or is that not necessary? Can you work smarter? Can you get emotional balance? Or is there one way, the only way, the Dan Peña way?
Okay, no, it's not the Dan Peña way.
Okay.
It's not called, no. It's not called, I didn't invent this Spartan way. I didn't invent that. And we have a section in the seminar. And I'll preface it by Michael Milken, who you're old enough to remember who he was, a junk bond guy.
Big fan.
When he was in his middle 40s, they asked, why are you so smart, Michael? And this is just after he paid himself $570 million in a year.
Yeah, 550 I thought, but maybe
okay, maybe okay.
And he paid his next highest paid guy was like $2 million, I think. And he said, the guy said, why only $2 million? And he said, if I paid you more, I'd pay you more than myself. And he paid himself $550.
Yeah, but the formula that he had, he was supposed to get 7% of the gross revenue of Drexel. So he should have paid himself like $2.4 billion, but he thought that would be over the top, and the shareholders would get pissed off. But then when he was asked, he says, "You're 550. I think you're right, 550. But that's still so much more than anybody else. You know, how are you this smart? Why do you have this much expertise, experience?" He says, "I'm not." He says, "But I look at it this way. I work 22 hours a day. 22 hours a day. I only sleep 2 hours. Okay. I work 364 days. I only take 1 day off. I think it's Rosh Hashanah, which is the highest holy Jewish day. Okay. If you multiply that times 24 years, since I got out of school, he got out of school early. I think he went to Wharton, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm 88 years old. Well, when I did the numbers, and we have a chart about it, and I've done it, I've published it on Twitter. I'm 131 years old.
In work years.
Work years.
Okay.
I have 60 more years experience than another guy, almost 70, who worked 40 hours a week, 5 days, and he took 2 weeks off. He took 2 weeks off. Okay. But I've had this much more experience than virtually everybody that I knew, except for Milken.
Okay.
Because I need more sleep than that. I need more sleep than that.
Right. So
when I was your age, I could work 3 or 4 days in a row with no sleep. And I wasn't on drugs. I'm high on life.
Right.
I don't need any fucking meditation. And I didn't know about the third chakra in those days.
Just think if you were meditating now, you could have 170 years of experience.
Well, if I thought I could live to be 200, I'd do it.
Are you answering my question? Is this a roundabout way of saying you got to work 15, 16 hours a day?
I don't know any other way.
Okay. But what about your students? What about me? What about
well, you're going to keep track of your hours that you work.
But I mean,
and you're going to keep track of the hours you waste.
Okay.
And it's always an interesting dichotomy. And I'll email you, well, Brian, between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, why didn't you consider that wasted time? Or vice versa.
For everyone that's jealous of me here for this week at the Castle Seminar, I'm going to have Dan Peña on my ass for the next year, wondering why I took an hour off to take my daughter to the ice cream parlor.
No.
And he's going to be like, why did you do that?
No. But how do you classify it?
Right.
I'm going to make you give me 2 lists. One list, your goals. Intermediate, short-term, long-term goals, okay? Both in personal and business. Then you put another list together, and this is a good exercise for you guys to do. You put another list together, and you say who you met with from Sunday midnight till Saturday midnight for 1 week. Who you talked to or who you met with, okay. And you put the list together. Okay, let's say there's 50 people on this list. Or in your case, maybe 100, I don't know. Okay, on mine, it's a short list. Only the mentees, basically. 5 or 6 people outside the mentees, lawyers and accountants. Now, you put a number by every fucking person that you emailed, Skype fucked, tweet fucked, link fucked, and which one of your goals on this other side of the paper they have anything to do with. You will be staggered, stunned, gobsmacked, awestruck.
How much time you're wasting with people that have no business being in your life to attain your goals.
Correct.
Okay. Hanging out with losers. Wasting your time with people that mean nothing to you. Okay.
Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
That's one of your top
It is.
3 pieces.
Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You want to know why you're all fucked up? Just look at the fucking bums you hang around with.
All right, let me ask you another question. Let me ask you a question about Dan Peña, the man.
I can't wait to look at your list.
Oh, Jesus. No, I must say, I'm thinking about my list right now, and I think I've gotten pretty good at this, but of course, you've probably heard that before.
Oh, yeah, plenty of times.
But yes, all right, let me ask you about Dan Peña, the guy. Now, there's an old saying that says, a rich man doesn't have to tell you he's rich. A successful man doesn't have to tell you he's successful. An intelligent guy doesn't have to tell you he's intelligent, because you'll figure it out. Yet you do all 3 things.
Who'll figure it out?
Because when you meet someone, they don't have to tell you they're rich. Have you ever heard that? You know, a rich man doesn't have to tell you he's rich, because when you spend time with him, you will know that. My point is you do all 3 of those things. Mm-hmm. And every communication you have in your ebook and your website and your videos and you now is, I'm Dan Peña, I did this, I'm going to do this, I create the value, I've done all these great things. Why do you talk about it so much? Why is that your first thing you want to tell people?
Because I'm in the business of showing people how to be successful. And the other thing is 99, that may be an exaggeration, 97, 98% of all the other coaches, high-performance people on the planet don't talk about it because they haven't accomplished anything. That's the hard fact.
Right.
Forget money. Money, 99.9%. 999. Forget money. Just accomplish things in life.
So that's why you talk about it.
Yeah, because, you know, in the early years of my career, I didn't talk about money creation or anything. Because, as I'll tell the story about speaking at the Harvard Club, I brought up the fact that the first 3 or 4 years that I had been coaching, I had created $100 million with my... Somebody asked me, how much... You talked to us in 93, now it's 97, what have you done? I said, well, with part of this group, I've created $100 million with you guys. They were so taken back. They were so aghast that I would talk about money. I didn't talk about money from 1997 till 2011. Because if I wanted to suck them into the QLA vortex, I couldn't insult them up front. Now, it doesn't matter, okay? I don't give a fuck if you like, I didn't give a fuck if you like me then. I give a fuck less if you like me now. because I've got such a following, such a stable of success. And now I draw more people because of the $50 billion than I ever did before. Because everybody wants to deal, not everybody, but almost everybody wants to deal with a success. And most of the people that they're going to listening to podcasts, ebooks, etc., are losers. And it becomes instantaneously obvious, even to the fucking most casual observer, muttonhead, that they've wasted all their money and most of their life following somebody that couldn't get them across the fucking street. And it works now. Of course, now, but I've lived here for 30 years.
But only 3 years ago, you've been talking about the money.
Yeah, I only started talking about money 3 years ago.
It's your USP. I mean, it's your unique selling point. It is Dan Peña, the $50 billion man. I love it. Were you using that when you were on my show?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, you were hesitant even to say it.
Really?
Yes.
Now I'm saying it all the time.
Yeah,
you tricked me.
I trick-fucked you. You're not the only person I trick-fucked.
No, let's be honest. There was that movie called Quiz Show that was big like 15 years ago, and it talked about those shows that used to be in the 60s and 70s, and they said people wanted to watch the money. And let's be honest, when you quantify it like that, it gets people's attention.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure it does.
Yeah.
Sure it does. And the when you, again, Marcus and Robert, they're the two guys that are here for the multiple times, people ask them when I'm not around, you know, because I go to bed early because I rest for the seminar. And they're down here drinking and talking. And why do you keep coming back? And are you really paying? And Robert says, yes. If I could figure out a way that Dan wouldn't charge me, I would, but Dan charges me. And he says, well, why do you keep coming back? Because he says, and this guy, he is a scientist, rocket scientist. He's an astrophysicist. He's a smart motherfucker, okay? He thinks too much. He says, every time I come here, it's like having a breakthrough, a scientific breakthrough.
Every time?
Every single time, a scientific breakthrough. Because when you've lived your life 39 years this way, he's 45 now, 44. 39 years this way, and you're a scientist, and you're a German scientist, everything has to be dot, T's crossed, E equals MC squared, nothing else. And most people aren't trained to be high-performance people unless you're a world-class athlete. And one of the other things that at the seminar with Asprey, and I thank him for, I met an Olympian doctor who's a coach of Olympians. I think his name is Bowerman. He set a goal, and he was in the Olympics. Another guy that I could really resonate with is Decina, Spartan guy. I was doing Spartan shit 40 fucking years ago.
You're the original biohacker.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't call it that. I mean, I was running 100-mile fucking things in the middle 70s, and I never bragged about it. Sally's the one that brought it up when we were at the biohack conference. She says, "Dan, you've done all this shit." And the stuff that they were bragging about is no big fucking deal.
Right, you were running marathons and all that stuff. I read your newsletter.
Yeah.
All right, I got to ask you another question. I asked you on the original show, but now I know you better. I'm going to ask you again. We're in a castle, okay?
Yep.
You said when you were young, you used to go into the Rolls-Royce dealerships and smell the leather in the car.
Amen.
Before you could afford it. You used to go look at the houses before you could afford it. I'm sure my London realtors are now doing these things, you know, just to get themselves into this abundance mentality. Tim Ferriss talks about that. Always have this. Never have a scarcity mentality, because you're saving pennies here and you're telling your brain, basically, you're never going to be successful.
Correct.
Right? And yet you bring us to the castle. Okay, this is a lot of subconscious stuff going on here. We got the cars out in front. We got the castle. You know, we see the success.
Those are my cars. What do you want me to do?
But you said you don't drive. So
I don't drive, but they're my cars. Two of my cars anyway.
And so I get it, and I see how you equate that with success. But is it ever too much to have the trappings around? Is it ever distract? You know, does it ever?
You mean from the seminar guys?
No, from you.
No. I mean, I could, you know, I've been here 30 years.
Do you ever want to walk all away from it?
No, never.
Leave the simple life?
No.
No. You like this stuff?
Yeah. I like having servants and butlers and waiting on me. Although I can make my own bulletproof coffee. Although I haven't made any yet, but I'm capable of it.
Is that what new money does? Because you're new money. Your parents were from the barrio. You're
Correct.
new money. Does new money embrace this lifestyle? I mean,
no, not all of them. No. I can't speak for other people. I can only speak for myself. But I mean, in Sally, we fight back, or not fight. We tease back and forth. Sally was actually poorer than I was. Okay, she lived in a caravan. Little caravan, 4 people in a little caravan, which is about this long from here to the wall over there. She used to work 2 months to save up to give herself a treat to take herself out to dinner when she was 15, 16, 17 years old. And we both appreciate, because we've been poor, okay? And but I mean, I have no debts. I mean, I could live in a lot more luxurious environment than this if I wanted to.
Right, and you have in the past.
I've had boats, planes, and all that stuff. And, I think the biggest waste of money is our corporate jets.
Right.
And whenever I buy a company that had jets, I'd sell them off. And but I've had my own planes, and it's pissing money down a rat hole. And I've, the old story, the happiest and the saddest day of my life, 2 happiest days of my life is the day I bought my big boat and the day I sold it. Because all they do is eat money. But I mean, I could, I like nice things. And nice things cost money. But nice things have cost money, for a long, long time.
Okay, point made on that. The Chinese have a phrase that says sometimes the student becomes the teacher. Sometimes I think maybe I'm the mentor and you're the mentee.
Okay.
Are you learning from your students? I mean, are you?
Oh, I learn, every seminar I learn something new.
You do?
Absolutely. Every single seminar I learn something new. It's invigorating. I mean, one of the reasons you asked me why do I keep doing this, other than, I have this, the manifestation of I want to be the very best, is that it keeps me on top of what's going on. The kids are smart. And that's why I see people, and for free when I travel, I publish my travel schedule, and I see people in almost every single city that I go to. There's 1 or 2 or 4, and sometimes 10 people that want to see me. And I meet with them, and sometimes I meet really bright kids. Sometimes I meet dipshits.
Do you screen them?
No. We screen. They have to fill out paperwork for me.
That's a big screen. You get rid of 90% of people with that.
And
so you really have your pulse on the deal flow of what's going on in the world, because you've got people that care about what they're doing. They're giving you the weekly updates, so you get a lot of information.
Oh, I have tons of information.
Right.
And it's not difficult, but it's time consuming to keep up with it. But I do. I'm religious about it. I'm anal about it.
Right.
And but I can't answer a question about your business without being disingenuous unless I understand it. And the only way I can understand it is I've got to keep up with all the minutiae I get sent. And people are not blown away, that's too strong a term, but are surprised the detailed responses that I give on a weekly report. I'll read through, maybe 1,000 words or 700 words, and I'll pick out the most 2 salient fuck-ups in my judgment. And I don't point out every fucking fuck-up. Otherwise, I'd be writing from here till Christmas. I pick up the 2 worst things that I think can sink their ship, and I hone in on those, okay? Did you think about this, dipshit? And why did you do this? And then they'll write back, oh my God, I can't believe that I missed that. And, and I found it 11,000 miles away. But if they don't put down all the information, and if your problems and challenges section of your report has nothing in it for 6 months, then all of a sudden, Brian, you tell me this has happened, and I'm saying, this just didn't happen since last week, asshole. That means you haven't been honest with me.
Tell me, what's the most common thing that you see in the people that come here or the people you mentor? Is there one piece? Is it a self-doubt, or is it a self-esteem issue? Are people 95% of the time holding themselves back? Are they afraid of success? What is it?
It's a combination of everything you just said, but it's a self-esteem issue. See, most people that have money, Not most. Many people that have money don't feel that they deserve the success, and they think they're a one-trick fuck.
I've heard people that don't think they earn the money never feel comfortable having it.
Correct. And they find it, sooner or later, they find a way to lose it.
Right, okay. I never had that problem, but I earned my money.
Okay.
But they say some people do. And then they piss it away.
Correct.
You've seen that, I'm sure.
All the time.
You ever done that?
Yeah. I'm probably the only high-performance coach that has seen 300 million of his hard-earned equity money evaporate.
This is Hollywood. I don't want
No, Hollywood was only 25 million.
Okay.
But most of the other guys haven't made 300 cumulatively. But I've seen it, where Clausewitz, the famous Prussian general, said, "Focus on the few, not the many." And the most common error that I see in reasonably successful businessmen and women are that they try to do too many things. And focus on the few, not the many. And I don't know if 2 shows are too much for you. We'll ascertain that. But I certainly would say if there was 5 shows, that's too many.
Oh, for me, you mean, as a business, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've already asked you what you would tell your 20-year-old self, and I don't want to know that because we've already went through that. They can watch Dan Peña 1, which will be ranked right above or below this one on YouTube. But I do want to know, there's a lot of people watching that think to themselves, okay, I'm never going to make it to Scotland. And maybe right away that shows that you're defeating yourself.
Correct.
But there's a lot of people out there that are thinking, okay, I know I need to do something, but I know I'm not going to do it. Or they're thinking, like I originally thought, fuck Dan Peña, he's just full of himself. Of course he tells me I'm a loser, and he's going to say that, and that's a business model. But other people really want to get better. And if you've seen, a lot of my shows recently are about success. I don't even know why I went here. It's probably your fault. You probably planted this seed.
My fault.
You probably planted this toxic seed in London Real that was all about the herbs and the things like that. But what about the people that are watching, Dan, that want to enact some change in their lives? What can they do? What should they do?
Follow what you're passionate about, what you love. If it's not work if you love what you're doing. Okay. Most people, when I say they're living quiet lives of desperation, is because they're involved in a business or a job that they don't enjoy, they're not passionate about. Okay, so if you found something that you're passionate about, then it doesn't matter if you work 3 hours a day or 13 hours a day. That's where you start. And most people aren't there. Most people have to find that. Okay, I can't tell you where that is. I do know healthcare and telecommunications, or the internet, the internet, are the 2 hottest things, and they're going to stay hot for a long, long time. But go through, I have massive amounts of free content. These are for the people, what kind of action can I take? Yeah. For free. Okay. I have 113 newsletters. I have 500 pages, I think, on my site. Go through there. Go to torrent. You can get copies of my book on torrent. And read those. And something will jump out at you. Something that you may have thought about when you were 25 years old, but you discounted it because you weren't in a position. But there's never a right time to make a hard decision. And
2 reasons: desperation and inspiration.
That's right? That's the only two reasons that people make change, or the only 2 reasons that people come to the seminar. They're either inspired or they're desperate. And we don't go through and ask everybody tomorrow why you're here. I don't give a shit why you're here. You can talk about that when I'm not here, down in the library or the drawing room. We'll have people that waited 13 years to come here. Took them 13 fucking years to make a decision. Okay, but everybody's different. But the one thing I have learned now, and I finally came, not finally, but I came to this realization, actually sadly, about 8 or 10 years ago, is that everybody moves at a different pace.
We don't all move at Pena speed.
Correct. Some are hares, rabbits running down the thing, and some are turtles. But if you're a turtle, you can't move forward without sticking your neck out. That means you got to take some risk. And most people are risk averse for 1 or 2 reasons. Number 1, they were educated that way, or they stuck their neck out a while back and got their fucking head chopped off, and they're afraid of doing it again. They didn't like the feeling of being embarrassed. They didn't like the feeling of their wife saying, I told you so. They didn't like the feeling their parents said, why did you borrow the $25,000 from us? Now it's gone. How are you going to pay us back? So they never do it again.
Is that a conscious or a subconscious decision?
It's both.
Okay.
It's both. And it's, you know, I think I mentioned it on the first interview. Look at the average 3, 4, 5-year-old, how happy he is. Joyous, he believes in Santa Claus, the world is perfect. And then look at him when he's 40 or 43. What happened to him, Brian?
He's awesome.
Huh? What happened to him?
I don't know what happened.
Life. Life beats you down. And life beats you down. Show me your friends, I show you your future. If you're all sitting around in a bar drinking beers saying, I hate my wife, I hate my kids, I hate my job, what effect do you think that has on you, short, intermediate, and long term?
And how would someone actively change their peer group?
Well, I'm gonna give the example. The most successful guy to change his peer group overnight. We had a guy come here in the late 90s. He had been in jail, in prison. He's a successful guy, pretty successful. And he says, you know, if anybody needs to change his peer group, he didn't call it a peer group, it's me. And I said, and this is in the days of the brick cell phones. Yeah. And he was in my office. I took my cell phone off my desk and I said, what you do, and I don't know how to do it, but you go back there and you know the answering service that you have, you know, change it and you put something like this on it. If you don't have my new number, fuck off, I don't want you in my life. And as God is my witness, that's exactly what he did. He went back to London. He's English. He went back to London. He put that on his answering service. He says, if you don't have my number, fuck you, I want you out of my life. And I was one of the 4 or 5 people that had his new number. And he's a rip-roaring success in the city.
There you go. That simple. All right. I'm looking forward to coming on this seminar this week. I have a challenge for you. You want to hear my challenge?
Absolutely.
I challenge you to make sure I get through this seminar. Because knowing me, I'm going to have that bag ready and packed every morning to walk the fuck out of here when Dan Peña starts giving it extra large. And I know you're going to give it extra large because I'm here. So
no, I give it no.
You give it extra large to everyone.
You mean extra large to you or to?
Yeah, to me.
No. I treat everybody the same, like shit.
So I challenge you to do that, and I hope you do get me through this. Sometimes I can be my worst enemy. I'm sure you come up with people that want to be out of this situation. This is uncomfortable, but I know I grow in the most uncomfortable situations.
Well, good.
So,
and you're going to do a lot of growing then.
Good. I hope I will, and we know it's uncomfortable. I've done some of my best growing in the past when I drank the ayahuasca. So here's what I challenge to you. You get me through this week, and then I'm inviting you to drink some ayahuasca with me come January.
Well, I won't make that promise with that because I don't.
It's not for pussies.
No, it's fine. I don't care what it's for. I don't.
It's for the third eye.
Yeah, well, I've got the third eye without it, so I mean, it's not like I need it. But I'll get you through the week. But you're going to feel pain. There's no question about it.
All right.
You're gonna feel pain, and but you owe it to them to stay the course.
I do.
So you consider yourself a professional, and you are a professional at what you do. So if you're a professional, as I told you earlier, the famous BBC broadcaster, Alistair Cook, said, being a professional is doing the very best you can, even when you don't feel like it. So you owe it to the audience to stay the fucking course. You can cry later, or you can cry if you're up to it, if you're man enough, when we do the hassle at the castle number 3 at the end of the seminar. If you've got any, fiber left in your body, any bone marrow left in your bones.
Great, now I have to stay. All right, well, you think about the ayahuasca. At least give me that.
I'll think about it. Because I've told people 20, 30 years ago, when I get to be 80, I want to do drugs, and there's something else I want to do drugs. And of course, when I said it when I was 40, but now I'm going to be 70. So, I mean, 80 is not that far down the road. So yeah, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. And you can tell me where you do it.
Yeah, I'll give you all the hookups.
Oh,
yes.
One of my mentees did ayahuasca in Los Angeles at a church.
Yeah.
How can they do it at a church?
There you go. Maybe it's the way forward. I'll walk you through all that. So,
okay.
Look, Dan, I always say the London Reel is about the journey, and I kind of live it. You know, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I didn't even want Dan Peña on my show. I was like, I don't know, this guy in his castle and the $50 billion, and that's not what we do on London Reel. And then you're on the show, and now I'm up here in the castle doing your program. So I have to be thankful to you.
It works.
I know, and I in no way am associated with the QLA program.
No.
But I am here. I'm going to take it, and you're going to hear from me. But I just want to say thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
I appreciate
for coming.
it.
And again, thank you for the opportunity you gave me. And continue to give me.
You're very welcome. And thank you for giving so much love to the world, whether you admit it or not.
Okay, I'll take the compliment.
All right. It's Brian Rose. I'm signing off from Guthrie Castle. And I look forward to this week. So thank you very much, sir.
Thanks a lot, kids.
All right.
Okay.
This is Brian Rose from London Reel. I'm reporting from Guthrie Castle, which is behind me in Scotland. I am at the Dan Peña $50 Billion Man QLA seminar, and I'm here for the week to be mentored by the man I interviewed 6 months ago. And to say the very least, it's not what I expected. We've had our first day of training. I've been in a suit and tie since 6:30 this morning. I will get back in my suit and tie for a formal dinner tonight, and we're going to do that for 6 days. So this has been day one, and it's been a very strange thing to happen. I interviewed Dan on Saturday, and I said, Dan, I get it. I was in a fraternity in college. When they go to haze you, they very nice to you, and then they break you down, and then they isolate you, and then they build you up, and if you pass, then you become part of the fraternity, and I know the drill. And he said, okay, Brian, that's fine, you know. I said, you isolate us from our family, you put us in a strange environment, I get it. And then it kind of happened, and I kind of feel like Charlie Sheen in the movie Apocalypse Now, as if I've been going up the river, and I've been taking the train up through England for 6 hours to get to the castle, and I've been reading the QLA emails and newsletters and listening to the podcasts of Colonel Kurtz, also known as Dan Peña, and my mission has been to come up here to kill him, just like in the movie. And now that I'm here, I want to join him. And so it's a very strange scenario. You know, Dan told us a lot of things today and made us all think as far as what we're doing with our lives and where we're going. You know, he can be telling a story about killing a bear with his bare hands in one hand, and then the next, in the middle of a formal dinner, start shouting that we're all a bunch of worthless cunts. And there's something quite charming about it and quite effective. You know, we had someone in one time that said, there are no bad trips when it comes to a psychedelic experience. You are just learning at a rate that you are not accustomed to, and that's what I would say this is like being here with Dan, and I think the rest of the mentees feel the same way I do. It's an interesting experience, and I'm still trying to process what happened today, and we got 5 more days. So it's going to get interesting. We got private meetings with Dan, but during the day it's pretty much 8-9 hours of straight talk of him telling you how he made it and how he thinks we should make it, or how we should step up our game in a huge way. And it definitely has all of us, at least most of us, thinking right now about our current state of our lives, what we're doing with it, what we want to do with it. And I just had a thought from the movie Fight Club, which says, this is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. So I wanted to get this on tape, just kind of let you know what's going on. I will try to shoot one of these during the day, but we've had no time. So it's not all fun and games up here, even though it's fine dining in castles. I must say, Dan runs a class act. This place is a gorgeous setting, 9-hole golf course. The meals are on time. They're excellent. The rooms are perfect. You know, it's all been thought out very well, and you know, you can I think you can kind of smell the success here, and I think that kind of is educational as well. So I'm going to try to get you these once every couple days if I can squeeze it in, but you know, there's a lot of work to do up here, and then I'm going to get back to it right now. We've got homework tonight, etc., etc. So I hope that gives you a little snapshot of what's going on. I will try to get some daytime shots for you as well, and I'll be learning more as I go on, but I have an open mind, to be very honest with you. Last week I was thinking of reasons for me maybe not to come up here, and now I feel like I want to stay for a long time. So that's very strange. Maybe maybe the con is working, I don't know. But it's all good. I will report more back, and of course I did shoot the entire interview with Dan on Saturday, and it's very good. I might be shooting one at the very end. We'll see how that goes. So it's Brian Rose from London Real, reporting live from Guthrie Castle. I will check back soon, and remember, it definitely is about the journey. It is day 3 at the QLA seminar here at Guthrie Castle. Yes, I am wearing a suit and tie. I'm sure you've never seen me shoot one of these videos dressed like this, but you know, when I do something, I like to go all in, and part of the requirements from Dan Peña was to be fully suited and booted, as we say in England, for the whole duration of the week, which means meals, all day for lecture time, for meeting time, everything. So, you know, I'm game. I'm here to learn, and it's been quite a few days, to say the very least. I mean, the most interesting part is that we're on the castle grounds here, which you can probably see, and I will show you around. I'm in the walled gardens here, which is just a stunning place to be. It's kind of manicured hedges that are 5 and 6 meters tall, and it's a really peaceful grounds. There's a 9-hole golf course here, and it's just really pleasant with the castle. And you know, we're here for 7 or 8 days, and we're kind of just becoming very used to being in a castle. And it's kind of hard to explain, but last night I was in the gym and I was on a treadmill, and I was like, I'm in a treadmill in a castle. And so you know, it's very interesting, but it's also kind of aside from the things that we're learning from Dan, which is the whole methodology of what goes on at QLA and his methodology for success. And you know, my view of Dan is changing by the day, I have to be honest. The first day on Monday, quite frankly, reminded me of my first ayahuasca experience, as in there was so much new information in my brain. I was learning at a rate I wasn't accustomed to. And Dan kind of broke it down and pretty much challenged all of us to think about what we've been doing with our lives for the last 10 years and what we could have been doing better, and how we felt about how much time we had wasted. And maybe that's a very succinct way of putting it, and why Dan's famous for his straight talk and no bullshit, and he can yell loudly and use a bunch of bad language if he wants to. He didn't really have to do that to get us all to think about our lives and think about maybe how we could have done better, or tried harder, or even thought bigger. And so perhaps it's a symptom of the people that come here, as in we've all agreed to open up our hearts and souls and give him all the information about our personal life and our businesses before we came here. But you know, everyone is kind of open-minded to some criticism and thoughts about our own choices and how hard we're pushing ourselves, or really a lot of this comes down to personal fears in our minds and what we think about ourselves, successive fear, and how we're all really limiting ourselves in our thinking. And guys here have businesses, but you know, there may be small businesses and they could be much bigger. And the first 2 days, this is day 3 now, have really had nothing to talk about the business specifics of how to do things, where it comes to finance. This has really been about getting inside of our own heads and trying to figure out what might be limiting us in many ways. And so that's why I compare it to the ayahuasca, because it kind of makes you confront things about yourself that you might really not want to talk about or even think about. And it's something that we all try to ignore, and sometimes we distract ourselves with media and the internet, and we don't ever really look a deep look at ourselves. And so that's why my reference to the Pena Oscar, which I made a few weeks ago on one of my pre-rolls, you might remember, is becoming much more accurate than I thought. And there's these following few days since I first drank my first Pena ceremony on Monday. have been really about processing that information. And so that's what I'm doing. You know, I thought I was going to hate it here, quite honestly, and I thought I'd be packing my bags every morning, but now I love it here, and I'm loving the lectures every morning. I'm loving the other 15 guys. They're very cool guys. We went out last night as a wolf pack. I know that sounds strange, and it's been kind of a cool male bonding experience too, which I did not see coming at all. And you know, we're all here to learn. We love listening to Dan and his stories and his insights, and he is unconventional. He doesn't mind swearing. He is the embodiment of General George S. Patton, for sure, as far as the way he talks, the way he motivates, the way he's real. You know, the interviews don't do Dan justice. I've interviewed him. There's a great interview on Bulletproof Radio that just came out, but you really have to experience Dan in all his glory, in everything, to really to see what it's like. So we're having a fabulous time. You know, Dan has more stories than Eddie Bravo, and each one of them is just kind of massively entertaining. And just when you think you've heard all of his stories, he gives you 10 more. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight as far as what my week is like here. I've got my big meeting with Dan tonight where he's going to get in my face and break down what my thoughts are and what maybe I need to be doing with my life and what I want to do with my life. So I'm looking forward to that tonight. And then we have 3 more days of QLA training. And then on Saturday, we're all getting our kilts on for our graduation day. We're going to be up in the top tower of the castle afterwards, I think playing some snooker and things like that. And I'm sure these pictures look kind of strange when I'm uploading things of the castle and all these things, but I don't know, it just feels normal to be here now and to be walking around and having dinner in the castle and that kind of thing. So it's going to be hard for me to adjust when I get back home. Maybe many of you are probably thinking I've gone insane, that Pena's changing me and I'm changing from the DMT smoking London reeler, and I appreciate that, but I do think life is about the journey, and while I'm here I want to experience it the most I can and get as much as I can out of this place, and I really am having a whole hell of a lot of fun, and I love the fact that my preconceived notions are being challenged by someone, and so being in a perpetual state of learning, I think, is where we all want to be. And if that takes Mr. Dan Peña to take me there, then I'm more than happy. So it's been pleasantly surprised. Dan, if you watch this, I must say thanks so much for getting my ass here, which I'm sure was difficult, not to mention getting on my show, which I know I made difficult for you as well. And I'm just so glad I'm here. And it's just one of the cool things that's happened to me because of London Real, and I have to thank you guys for that. So there you go. Hopefully I will return and not stay here. I made a reference that in the movie Apocalypse Now, I am the Martin Sheen character that has traveled up through the Danang River up to Scotland in order to kill Colonel Kurtz, who Dan Peña is, but now I think I want to join him, so I might be going to the dark side, but I think I will come back to London and we'll see what happens. Hopefully I will leave Dan Peña alive, because I think he's got a lot to teach a lot of people. So there you go. I'll be checking in again right in your graduation day to tell you what else happened, and until then, I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, it's about the goddamn journey. Peace. I am here on the green of the first hole of the golf course here at Guthrie Castle, and you know, I've been tweeting out pictures, posting on Facebook of the various aspects of the castle, which is behind me. The room I've been staying at is the one right here. It's apparently used to be a dollhouse. It's connected to the walled garden, which is this kind of stunning garden on this this pretty stunning estate. And I know you've seen the pictures of the cars and the fanfare and the wealth, and a lot of people have been sending me messages and saying, Brian, you know, but what is this really like, and what is this all about? Because I know I'm looking a little different than my usual walks around Shoreditch, and I'm wearing a suit and tie, and people are starting to ask questions about who Brian is, and I get it. So I thought I should just try to walk you through a little bit of what's been going on here. And I would say it's a cross between that scene in Glengarry Glen Ross with Alec Baldwin and the movie Boiler Room, where Ben Affleck does the group interview with the guys trying to interview for the firm. And if you haven't seen either one of those movies, there's a scene where Alec Baldwin talks to the salesman at Glengarry Glen Ross for real estate, and he uses the words ABC on the board, always be closing, and AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action, and he pulls out a pair of brass balls and puts them at his groin and says, "Do you have the balls it takes to sell real estate?" And the other movie is Ben Affleck saying, "I am a fucking millionaire." Sounds strange to hear, right? It's even stranger to say. And then throws his keys across the car and talks about his Ferrari. Well, this whole week, or this whole 6 days, has been like those two movies all rolled up into one, except Dan Peña is doing the delivery, and it's been 6 days straight, not to mention 8-9 hours of seminars during the day, formal meals at night. I've worn the suit, or a suit now, for 7 days straight, the longest in the history of my lifetime. Even at Bankers Trust and Wall Street, we had a casual Friday. And we've been just kind of inundated with Dan ultimately training for success. You know, we just came from this seminar and he said one line, which I think sums up everything that's happening here. And he says, "I teach you how to acquire wealth within 3 to 5 years that would normally take a generation." And I think that sums up who Dan Peña is. And just to show you that it's not all dollars and cents and it's not any spreadsheets and graphs, Dan has got to be one of the funniest, most entertaining stand-up performances I've ever seen. I think that's why we let him get away with so much bullshit and calling us bad names sometimes and making fun of us during dinner and saying we've not accomplished anything with our lives. And I think it is because Dan is such an entertaining guy. I am literally LOLing multiple times during the day in the seminar, and he almost always makes everything entertaining. He's got 1,000,001 stories about meeting the Queen, about meeting 4 former presidents, about all these things he did, wrestling a bear and killing it with his bare hands. I know I got some flack for posting that video earlier, but you don't understand. Dan Peña is like a modern day Ernest Hemingway, but with cash. And he's been there, done that. Has he run 100-mile marathons? Of course he has, 30 years ago. And you go through the castle and there's pictures of him on the front of the LA Times in '83. And, you know, Pena is just classic. And he does impressions of everyone from the posh English banker to the Mexican to the Chinese guy to the German guy. He's just constantly making fun of everyone and himself. So that's what the 6 days have been like. You know, at the same time, we've been dressing the part, living the life here on the castle, which is just hard to explain how stunning it is. I'm here behind me by the Swan Pool and by another golf tee as I walk around the castle. And, you know, it's been hard being away from my family, but at the same time, it's been it's just been really fabulously refreshing to be around a real kind of alpha male pack leader. And there I said it. And you know, Dan is our leader and we are the pack. I sent out a message, a picture yesterday with the 16 of us. And it's just been a lot of fun and feels really good, and made us all take a long, deep, hard look at ourselves and ask us if we've just been making excuses because we're not prepared to compete. Have we been making excuses about our lives because we fear what we might not accomplish? And you know, it's made me ask a lot of questions about myself. And it's gonna be interesting to see the changes I make when I get back home. Luckily, Dan is gonna be on all of our motherfucking asses. Now that I'm talking like Dan now and projecting Dan Peña, which I will be doing. One of the German guys here, Marcus, or Austrian, said he wants to see my next episode of London Real because I'm going to potentially project Peña, so we'll see how that goes. But we've all been asking ourselves some questions about what we're going to change in our lives. And like I said, luckily enough, Dan is going to be on our ass for the next 12 months, every single week. We're going to owe him progress reports and status reports, and that's going to be interesting. So hopefully we're going to take this with us and take it back home. Again, I'm going to make an analogy to the ayahuasca ceremony when you go down to Peru or have your ceremony wherever you do. You know, you learn all these things and you're like, I'm going to change this about my life and I'm going to be nicer to this person. And do this with my family and change my career. And you get back home and sometimes you just fall back into your steady state. And so the idea is that we don't do that here, and we really make those changes and step up to the plate. And this is the most ridiculous thing I ever thought, but I'm actually comparing ayahuasca to the Dan Peña QLA experience here. They're very similar in that they make you take a long, hard look at yourself. And one of the things Dan said the other day, which resonated with me, is that most people know what's wrong with them, but they just haven't realized it in a way that they're going to make the changes. And so that's what today has been like. I don't know if Dan has engineered all of this over the past 20 years, so it all works. I think he does, or maybe he's just taking the credit for doing that, which both of those things Dan would do. But it's been a real pleasure. It's been nice to be around Dan and the whole experience in the castle. Yes, some days he is absolutely insane, and some days he's crazy like a fox, but you know, we take it all with the good and the bad. So hopefully one day you'll have the chance to do this. I highly recommend it. In my opinion, you know, these will all be booked up, and you know, there'll be waiting lists now for in a year's time, in my opinion. So it's been a fantastic week. We got 3 more hours back in the classroom, and then tonight we got a crazy graduation ceremony. I've got a kilt I'm gonna wear. I'm pumped up to wear a dress for the first time, at least outside the house. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and what a crazy week. You know, I never expected this, but thanks so much to everyone out there and to all the London Reelers, because without you I wouldn't have had this crazy motherfucker on my show, and wouldn't have come out here and do this. It really is about the journey, and this whole process of me broadcasting myself has changed me in so many different ways. So you know, thanks to you guys for making me do that, and thanks to Dan Peña for staying on my ass. You know, I really didn't want him on the show, and when I first heard about this guy with a castle and his hundreds and hundreds of millions, I thought he would be the wrong energy for London Reel, and you know, I think I was wrong. And I hope with my interviews that I'll be posting next week that I can capture Dan on camera. I do think it's hard to capture Dan on a 2-dimensional surface. You really need to be there, and especially with his seminars, you need to have him stare you down and look at you and say, are you scared, Brian? And do that kind of thing. So I think it's hard to get the impression unless you're here. So that's it. I'm signing off here by the picture perfect bridge here with the creek rolling through from Scotland. The next time I talk to you, I'll be back in London and back on track to doing what I love. And that's it. It's about the journey, and I wish you well. Take care. We are in the trophy room at Guthrie Castle. I'm here with Mr. Dan Peña, surrounded by some of the animals that were unfortunate enough to meet him, I believe in Africa and a few other countries.
Africa, Australia, South America.
I posted a video earlier this week of you describing the killing of that bear, which is in the corner. I think you used your bare hands with a knife.
After I slowed him down, shot him, slowed him down, because you can't just jump on a bear with a knife, otherwise you'd be going to your own funeral.
Right, and I posted that, and there was some of the usual backlash of animal rights people, etc. And I just wanted to say that I respect their opinions, but also you kind of have to meet Dan before you judge Dan's actions, because I would describe Dan, after being here for a week, as a modern day Ernest Hemingway with cash. So it kind of harkens back to a different era when I walk around the castle and see kind of the things you do. And you know, before I get into the QLA and what happened this week, you know, I felt something this week that was something I hadn't felt in a long time. We had 16 guys here, and we were all together as kind of a group of men being taught and ultimately led by you. And you know, you were our alpha male pack leader, and when there was someone misbehaving in the pack, then you told them to shut the fuck up. And you know, we ate together, we learned together, and it's something that I haven't, and it felt good for me. And I don't know if this is something you've even thought of, but just being up here and being with that kind of group of men, bettering ourselves, I haven't felt like that since I was at my fraternity, you know, at MIT. And even then, we didn't really have an elder kind of all-knowing looking out for us. And so I find myself feeling really good about it.
Well, I hadn't really ever put it in that perspective, but vis-a-vis the pack leader, etc. But, and I tell you from the very beginning, I don't want you bonding, remember?
Yeah.
But the fact is you do bond. You do bond, and that's why you go out 2 different nights on your own, have dinner, and talk whatever you talk about. But it's a camaraderie that will develop over the next year, and it will go on. I mean, some of the people that attended the seminar back in the middle 90s are still, you know, friends, and I don't use that word loosely, but friends, and some have even done business together. But that's not the point of it. We're not here to swap business cards or email addresses, etc. But you have a camaraderie now of the beginning of a camaraderie that will take you into your QLA war plan, as we talked about, and it's different. It just certainly is different. It's not like other seminars. You know, even though I liked the biohacking seminar, there wasn't any camaraderie that I felt. Of course, it was 500 people, but that's why I keep the seminar, you know, 15, 18 people, max 20 people. Sometimes we've had as few as 10 people, and it really becomes a cohesive group. It's also impossible, at least for me, and I'm a multifaceted guy, for me to not be able to, or for me to be able to touch every single person when I've got more than 15 or 20 people. As you know, we had private time, and where we come in and talk about their future, not so much about their past, because I'm not interested in their past, because what they did before they got here, I can't change. They can't change, but that's part of the regrets they have, is the things that they did before they got here.
Right.
And but that's the fact that you pointed that out is reflective of, you're a reflective guy. That's why you've got the show. It's been a success. I'm not so sure everybody that was there, as we discussed before we went on air, got that message.
Right. Well, and also people have seen me posting pictures of, you know, around the castle. I mean, this whole thing is such an immersive experience. I mean, we all sit down in suit and tie. I haven't worn a suit and tie for 7 days continuously, even since my Wall Street days, because we had a casual Friday, or I had the weekends. And so we eat together, breakfast together, we train, you know, we listen to you, we eat lunch together, we eat dinner together. We're in the castle, we're surrounded by the castle, the way you live. This place is immaculate. Everything runs on time. The greens on the golf courses are cut to the perfect level. You know, everything here is kind of a reflection of your character, I think. And the thing about you, Dan, that I realized this week is that you're highly congruent. And I meet a lot of people on my show that aren't congruent. They give good interview, they give good book, and when they're off camera or later I'm trying to correspond with them, they break down. You find out later they might be crooks, or they might have made stories up. It goes the distance. But when I'm here with you, when you're off camera and on camera and performing and having dinner, you're always Dan Peña. And your stories are all true, and all of the articles are there, and all the history is there. And so for me to discover that, it makes a big difference when it comes to then you teaching us. Well,
it's another interesting point that you bring out. The outside my office, just on the other side of this wall, we have all these newspaper articles that I've been involved in, and people have asked me, why do you have the articles when they threw you out, the shareholders threw you out, and they sued you, and they set you on fire, literally? Because I am what you see, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm the same all the time, and if my children are watching this, and I hope they are, they would tell you, and the problem they have growing up is that I treat them just like I treat you. I treat everybody, whether you're a nun or a priest, which we've had come through here, and that I mentor. The only person I cut slack for in my career is Mrs. Thatcher, and I don't know why. I don't think I was intimidated by Mrs. Thatcher, but I was nicer to her, I must admit. And I say that I'd be nicer to the Pope. I've never met the Pope, but I think that I'd probably be nicer to him. But I am the same person. And you're right, there's so many people that are disingenuous, and that's the problem I have with the success business, or whatever you call it, or personal development, is because they don't walk their talk. They don't walk their talk. And I certainly do. But now it's 50 years of good habits, almost 50 years of good habits. I'll be 70 in my next birthday, and this is just the way I am. I don't wear normally a suit on Sunday, but I'm being interviewed by you, but everything's on time. When I say something, I mean it, and when I say that I expect you to mean it, I expect you to mean it.
Right, it comes through, and a lot of people might be wondering why I'm wearing a suit and tie right now, and quite honestly, I'm doing it out of fucking respect.
Thank you.
So there you go. Let me walk you through my week with QLA. We had our interview here 8 days ago in the other part of the castle. Sunday night.
The main hall.
The main hall. Sunday night, the other 15 guys got here. We before dinner, we were greeted. I say that in a nice way, by Dan, who had some choice language for the way he felt about some of us, and what he expected from us, and how the week was kind of going to be. So we kind of got an initial feeling, especially people that haven't met you before. I had met you, of this is time to play hardball, and it's going to be it's going to be a humbling time probably. And then day one happened. We got up, we had our suits on, we got there. And for me, day one was the most powerful day. And I don't even know exactly how you did it, but you made us all look deep within ourselves. I've made the comparison before, but I'm going to make it again, Dan. When I have had these experiences with the substances that you make fun of me about, the ayahuasca and the DMT, these things also, they put you in uncomfortable places, and they force you to confront yourself in a way you haven't done before. Mm-hmm. And you can't hide from an ayahuasca ceremony, because for 3 hours, there's nowhere to hide, there's no mommy to cry to, and you have to basically be faced with some of your many shortcomings in your life, including personal relationships and things you've done wrong, and you have to deal with the pain because there's nowhere to hide. And that's what it was like here on Monday with you. I mentioned at lunch on Monday, the whole table was silent except for one or two jokesters who apparently didn't get the message, and everyone was just sitting there thinking about what you said. By 5 o'clock, I walked out of there, and I had to go down and lay in my room in the dark, because I think all of us were like, what the fuck have we been doing with our life? There was so much wasted time that we could have just been doing more. And that was kind of the start of my week.
You got the message.
I got the message.
You got the message.
And I knew a message was coming, Dan. And like I said, I've done the hell week in my fraternity, and I knew it was all coming, and it still hit me. And I think that comes down to you as a man being very congruent with your message. And honestly, you really do. We do feel that you really give a shit, and you're trying to get us across the goal line. And on a personal note, I don't think I've had anyone really care that much about me and what's going on with me in a very long time. Maybe back to childhood. And in your seminar, you talk about our mommies and daddies, so it's kind of befitting that I bring that up. And then for the next 2 days, it was more about our personal breakdown. Like you said, a lot of people come to the seminar and they're like, Dan, when are you going to talk about getting all the fucking money? And that doesn't happen until day 3 or day 4. And so
afternoon to day 3.
Afternoon day 3. So it's a lot of personal introspection, and then all the good stuff happens. So the last 3 days, it's been all about finance, all about the dream team, all about the nuances of QLA, and it's great stuff. It's not a 5-week course, because I think in Dan's opinion, you don't need fucking 5 weeks. You need the basics, and you got to get your feet wet, especially for us engineers, which the word MIT was said probably 100 times in that room, and Dan has a great way of making eye contact with everyone, and you do personalize the stories to certain people, and it's interesting because everyone gets something different about what you said. I got back to lunch and someone would say, oh, Dan said this line and that hit me, but other people said, no, it was this line. And I'll be honest, Dan, by the end of day 5 and day 6, I wasn't thinking to myself, when's this going to be over? Quite honestly, I wasn't thinking, I can't wait to get back to London. I was thinking, I'm not very happy here right now, and I wasn't expecting that. And on day 6, for those of you on YouTube, you can check out Dan's YouTube channel. You finished it up where you had a final speech to us, and you said that you basically give, 100 and whatever percent, like it's the last 12 minutes of the Super Bowl, doing what you do, carrying people across the goal line. It was an emotional speech. I got emotional. Quite honestly, Dan, I cried a bit at the end. And I'm kind of surprised that after listening to the same, the same old man for 6 days, you could inspire me emotionally in the last 15 minutes. And it was a big moment for me.
Well, I say for those of you that haven't read my most recent newsletter, I say I feel like Forrest Gump many times. Forrest Gump got the Medal of Honor for carrying all those people to safety and to save their lives when he was running, with the bombs in Vietnam. And whether you wanted to be saved or not, he saved you. And Lieutenant Dan, the guy that lost his legs, and that's what I feel like, carrying all you guys. And sometimes you don't want to be saved, and sometimes you don't want to go to the next level. But for whatever reason, either by design or through serendipity, you showed up here. And so it's my duty, I feel, to make sure that I do everything humanly possible. And I know a lot of the tricks. I've been doing this a while, now 21 years, and I've had all different kinds of people from MIT, and my speciality is the Ivy League schools or the big schools because they have a different mindset. Quite often they feel entitled. And in some cases, they have lived entitled lives. But I know better than the people that were sitting in that room just what they can accomplish. And then I point at the Hall of Fame and I say, this guy did this with nothing. This guy did this with nothing, and he did it, against the grain. And we had people very well educated in the audience, like yourself. We had other people that were multi-degreed from good schools to great schools, and we had other people that had no education. We had one guy in the room that had made the guy that I talk about, the $400 million guy, had one O-level in carpentry. He doesn't have one O-level. So I had never met anybody that didn't have any O-levels that was from Britain. But it works for everybody. But at the end of the day, and in the closing moments, it's how bad do you want to be a high-performance person? How much are you willing to sacrifice? And for the next year, when you do the weekly reports and when we're having the monthly conference calls, as I said, you're going to see everybody's little picture on the Zoom or whatever we're using, and you will be able to tell before they open their fucking mouth whether they had a good month or a bad month. Because I'm reading the reports. You haven't read the reports. But you'll be able to, I wonder what's wrong with number 3.
Because he's looking...
Yeah, down.
Okay, down.
The universal down. And then number 8, well, shit, he looks like he just, a Cheshire cat with a smile this wide. And, the only thing that I wish we were back in Star Trek, where you could transport, and you could be in the same room. The only way it would better the year mentor program is if I could have those monthly meetings where we're all in the same room, because the same bonding that you felt in the camaraderie you'll feel on those monthly calls, and you'll say, when somebody's talking bullshit, you'll remember what he said at the castle, or you remember what he said 2 months before, and your batchmates, as they call them, or classmates, will pop in and say, "Hey, Joe, that's not what you said last month. You told Dan such and such. What kind of bullshit is that?" And it puts you on the spot. And so the system is real good. The only way it could be better is if I could do it in person, but that's not possible.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking when I'm in that room. I wish other people could try to understand this, because watching it on a YouTube video doesn't do it any justice. And experiencing you in 2 dimensions, they've seen our interview, they've seen you on Dave Asprey, they're going to hear you on a lot of podcasts, but I'd say it's near impossible to understand the Dan Peña that I now know, and what you can do, and the way you can rouse people, and the way you can motivate people to get off their asses. It's hard to see that on a YouTube video. So is that the conundrum?
It is. That's the conundrum, and and at least even though technology is a lot better now, I mean, there's no way around it. But I plan on living long enough to where we're going to be able to transport people. I'm good for another 60, 70 years. So somebody that was here at the last seminar, he said, well, you're going to easily be able to do seminars into your 80s. And I looked at the kid and I said, 80s? I mean, that's short term. I mean, I plan on doing this, and I plan on being healthy enough to do it much longer. What I would recommend to everybody, you know, you don't know anybody that looks like me. I'll be 70 my next birthday. Sounds like me with the energy level that I have. I mean, take care of yourself. The old adage, I don't know who said it, if I'd known that I was going to live this long, I'd take better care of myself. But I've taken good care of myself. But I didn't start when I was 20, 25, 30. I didn't start until I was in my, 40 years ago. So I'm 70, so I was about 30 years old when I started this. And for those of you that started taking care of yourself early, if you call yourself biohacker, that's fine. Then I take my hat off to you, because then you're going to be able to accomplish more and have less regrets. We talk a lot about regrets and the regret minimization. You know, when you're 80 years old, you look back at your life. What should I have done? Instead of I woulda, I coulda, I shoulda.
You know, there's some great lines in the seminar, and one of them is you telling about various stories where you almost were killed, whether it was maybe that water buffalo trying to stick you, you know, and all these harrowing experiences with death. And at one point you're saying, you can't kill me, you can't kill me.
You can't fucking kill me.
You can't fucking kill me. And, you know, Dan is 69, and he dresses just like this every day and powers through 8-9 hours of, you know, presentations, over 1,500 slides, stories, anecdotes, putting people on the spot. And on day 6, he looked around at all of us and he said, you guys look tired. You know, why the fuck are you tired? I'm not tired. And it's just, it's easy to forget, you know, at Dan's age. You know, I want to hit a few people with some lines that I just wrote down while I was listening. But this is just some of the things that you said during the QLA. You said dreams into reality through discipline. You said when value is clear, decisions are easy. You said every day is a test. Did you pass? At one point you said, I'm a bad motherfucker. And Dan, you are. You said you have to kiss a lot of frogs. And one of my favorites is if your friends and family don't think you're nuts, you're not doing the right things.
Amen.
And I mean, I could go on and on. You know, one of the things Dan said is, unless I'm dead or in a coma, I show up. He has some fantastic stories about how he always shows up to meetings. And it's these little nuggets that are going to be placed into our brains and are going to pretty much make everyone in that room never not show up to a meeting again. And not to mention all the funny comedic relief things you said, like when some of us were exchanging email addresses, you said, when you guys swap spit, my dick goes limp.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Yeah, I mean, this was not supposed to be a networking exercise. But this group, I have to admit, and Sally and I were both saying this morning, that this group bonded more than any of the other groups in recent memory.
Okay. I might take some credit for that.
Okay, yeah, well there was a lot of London Reelers, and the thing that I was looking for, I wanted to see if, you were going to be uncomfortable because there were so many London Reelers in the group, and because they are London Reelers, would they be uncomfortable? But it worked out perfectly. I mean, to Brian's credit, he kept not a low profile, but he didn't, you know, he didn't do what he could have done. Notwithstanding that, 2/3 of them were from London Reel, approximately, but they
what
really.
Could I have done? What do you mean?
Well, no, you could. You know, I called you a luminary, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And
I'm still looking that one up.
Okay, a luminary, but you could have acted like a luminary, okay? And you didn't. You acted just like any of the guys that were there, and I treated you just like any of the guys. And a couple times when I'm asking questions, because when we do homework, I don't make every single person. We don't have time for all 16 of you to go through and give your answer. So I pick 3, 4, 5, and then I say, does anybody else want to say anything? And Brian, 2 or 3 times, yeah, I want to give my answer. And he gave his answer. And a couple people never volunteered. And I don't, if I don't think, like the martial arts kid, me pounding him, he's a focused guy, the Russian-Lithuanian guy. Yeah. I mean, I know I didn't have to pound him.
Yeah, you didn't pound him at all.
No, I just, I pounded him when we get the private time a little.
Okay.
A lot, actually. But he didn't need that. I go to where you need it. Fidel, the doc, Miles, God help us, Miles, and a few that I pounded the most because they needed the pounding the most. Mark, he just needed a fucking beating, and I gave him a fucking beating. And And so, and every night I'd go back and I'd reread your files so I could make sure that I don't forget the anecdotes and the stories that relate directly to you. For the 60 hours of the seminar, I spent at least an hour preparing before the seminar, and I spent at least an hour a day reviewing my notes, and I could give, like I've told you, those 1,500 PowerPoint presentations in a coma because I know them backwards and forwards. But I have probably 2,000 stories, and I use different stories depending on the group. And this group was pretty diverse, and they were, you know, we had them from China to Australia to the United States, from Israel, and it was a diverse group.
You know, I was here to learn, and you know, I trained martial arts, and I've been all around the world, and when I'm in someone else's dojo, I shut the fuck up, and I listen to the sensei, and if I think they're doing it wrong, then it's none of my business. So that's kind of the way I am. So when I was here, I wasn't here to try to prove how smart I was or anything. I was here just to shut up and listen to you. So I hope I did that.
You did. Yeah, you were a near-perfect attendee. But there were a lot of near-perfect attendees. There was a couple exceptions, which I don't need to say their name. You know who they were. But there's always a couple exceptions in every group. Because some people, because they want to, how do I get the fucking money? So they turn off until we get to how do we get the fucking money. And so my job is to bring them in to, you're not going to get the fucking money until you get your emotional bank account squared away. You know, 2 bank accounts, emotional and financial. Everybody's worried about the financial, but it's the emotional bank account. And the last couple of days, you know, the guys were tired, not so much because of a lack of sleep. It was emotionally draining because I'm hitting a lot of buttons, the reasons why you haven't been more successful, and that the fact that you've been pretending to try to find a reason for you to get to the next level, or how to get to the next level. But the truth of the matter is, you keep going back to something within your comfort zone, a guy or a gal, a podcast that makes you feel comfortable. And they don't tell you you're a lazy cunt. They don't tell you, you know, that these are the reasons, and you know that these are the reasons. They don't tell you that it's the people that you hang around with. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. They don't tell you that because they want to sell you something. You know, if I had known, of course, what I know now, I would have never sold one product from back in the 90s. Never. I would have always given it away. Oh, but everybody sold the shit, so I, like a lemming, I sold the shit, you know. But it just doesn't work, especially since I don't make a living off it. You know, it's a waste of time.
You talk about the information, and Dan has some great Pena-isms, and he said, yeah, why don't you go Google fuck that? And what Dan's saying is, we've all got too much information in this world, and we all listen to too many podcasts, we read too many goddamn success books, and we have all this information. He's got a great diagram where it's a bunch of dots, and then another one where the dots are connected. So first of all, A, we're not taking any risk and doing any fucking deals with that knowledge, and we have all this knowledge, and we're just kind of paralyzed with this knowledge. And I'm even guilty of it myself, you know, listening to this and listening to that. And, you know, it is about doing it, confronting the fact that you really are scared, that you don't want to compete because you're afraid of losing, and all the other things that are holding ourselves back. And you don't even know it.
Absolutely, you don't know it. You know it in the back.
In the back, right.
Subconsciously, we all know it. We know where we are, why we are where we are. But like I told the guys in the seminar, you can never use that as an excuse again. I didn't know. Okay? You now know. There's no question in your military or civilian mind, even for the pea-brain that were at the seminar this time and for all the other seminars I've given, you have the template, you have the framework, you have the steps. And now I'm going to drag you, punch you, spit on you if I have to, through the next 12 months. So I make sure you follow the template. And the first weekly report is the toughest, because when you start listing the stuff that I ask, and we don't give you that report until you'll get it in about 24 hours, because I don't want all the engineers finger fucking with it and doing a spreadsheet and what does he mean by this, and we'd spend the whole seminar just answering questions about the first weekly report. But you're going to list, you know, who you talk to. Why'd you talk to him, Brian? Oh, what does he have to do with any goal? Oh, okay. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? How much time do you spend on Facebook, LinkFuck, and tweet fuck. Why? You know, why are you doing this? How much time do you exercise? How much time are you studying QLA precepts or any precepts? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? How much time do you spend with your family? I'm not telling you not to spend time with them, but how much? You know, some people in a week will spend 50, 60, 70, 80 hours with your family. That's great. And only 20, 30 hours working. Okay, that's great. That's your choice. And choices have consequences, as my friend Jack Welch would say. But don't beat yourself up why you're not more successful. If you're spending 3/4 of your time being a good dad, that's great. Be a good dad. But don't beat yourself and waste time listening to podcasts and going to seminars and reading books. Reading books is not pulling the trigger. One of the attendees there who's been there, this is his 8th or 9th seminar, said, who would you rather have leading you? Somebody that has read 700 books or somebody that has done 700 deals? Well, obviously, well, if you don't know, I'm the guy that's done the 700 deals, and I stopped counting at 700. I must be at 1,000 by now, but I stopped counting many years ago. So, but you've got that now. You've got that template. Now, some of the engineers, I hope not you, will make suggestions to me. Did you ever think of tweaking the template this? Did you ever think of the, you know?
Right, that's our way of avoiding what we need to do. So for the next 12 months, for people that don't know, I'll be filling out weekly reports, counting, I guess, from my time during the week down to the hour. And then we'll have these monthly conference calls. I think that's when the real, that's probably when the real hard time happens with people.
That's when the rubber hits. That's when the rubber hits the road. Okay. You will be stunned, gobsmacked, shocked, and pissed off when you put what you do in a week. And I mean, in the comment section at the bottom of the report, I get all the time, God, I had no idea. And then some of you will say, it's a fucking miracle I made any money.
Great. So I thought this was the hard part, and there's going to be another 2 weeks of hard part.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about, you know, I was sitting there in the conference, and I was like, how many people do I know should be here? And then I was thinking, how many people that should be here, you know, would actually come here and would sit there and listen for six days. We're talking about in the future other luminaries coming, whatever that means. But you know,
you're my first luminary.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay,
thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know how many other luminaries would come, would submit, would put it all out there and listen to you. And on top of that, you can only talk to so many people. You know, you do 4 or 5 of these a year. You know, 16 was a large class size. I mean, part of me seems that it's a shame that this message can't get to more people.
Well, I used to give these seminars for free back in the 90s. I tell the seminar guys that, the group this last week, I used to fill up rooms 700, 800, 900 people at the LAX airport. I used to get public broadcasting, free advertising, and I've had a lot of people, but when I measured the results of how many people I got across the goal line, by industry standards, I was doing well, but by my own personal standards and knowing what I know, I got shit results. So I stopped doing them. I stopped doing the 3 days and the 1 days and the seminars around the world that I used to do because I couldn't have this kind of, you know, one-on-one. Then I went back and I measured the results against the Castle graduates. There was no fucking comparison. None. Zero. Okay, and so because I want to, you know, when I do leave this planet, I want to go out. You know, I've been called the latter-day Saint Napoleon Hill. That's a great compliment. I'm not. I've been called the 21st century Napoleon Hill. I haven't touched millions of people like he has. But when I finally I do leave, I want to be known as the best high-performance coach that ever lived. And the best way for me to do that is to change people's lives like you that have a big base. Okay. That's why you're a luminary. People that have big bases, and when I can assist or kick across more goal lines, I spread the message, and that's why I'm doing the reality show. Whether it comes to fruition or not is still down the road, but it's not. But it's not for everybody. This is not for everybody because it's not for everybody because one, you know, money's not everything, and it just isn't. It's the only thing anybody keeps track of, but it's not everything. But it's the benchmark people use. And so creation of wealth and equity like I do and I measure isn't kept track by anybody else. And the reason it's not kept track by anybody else, guys, it's because nobody else has really created any. They don't talk about it. But I want people that to come here that really are willing to make the commitment and the sacrifice. Now, I commit and sacrifice. 1 year I mentor you for free, for fucking free. You know, so you pay for the seminar and you get the 12 months of beaten by me for free. You know? And I think that's a pretty big commitment. And so 1/3 of my time is pro bono, which is that roughly it takes me 1/3 of my life to manage your guys' businesses. But there's a lot of people that shouldn't come here. And every once in a while, I can say with my hand on my heart that with 1 or 2 exceptions in 21 years, everybody that came here should have come here. Maybe 1 or 2 people. I had one person walk out, a woman in the late 90s. Her husband is on the Hall of Fame, but she walked out because she said, I'm not willing to do that. That's fine, you know. But other than that, we've never had anybody walk out. I've thrown one out in the late 90s. But even if you only get closer to your goals and your dreams by, you know, an inch, a centimeter, a half a mile, I mean, you've paid for the value of the seminar many, many times. And of course, then we've got the guys that have made billions, hundreds of millions, tens of millions, millions. But I've got probably 10,000 people that their net worth went from $500,000 to $1 million. You know?
Right. I mean, people talk about the price point, which is about 10 grand sterling.
10 pounds.
They can go to the website to find out more. And some people, but you know, now that I've been here, I mean, you know, it probably is a tenth too cheap. You know, when you look at the real value there.
A few of the guys said that, you know, thank you, because we know that the money you made from us is chicken shit.
Right, but the funny thing is people see that and they think, oh wow, it's very expensive. But then when you pay for something, then you listen more and you take the whole thing seriously. So it's almost like that price point keeps the riffraff out. And part of me even thought, okay, as a big gift, I might give it to this friend. But I know if I gave this to a friend, then they wouldn't come here and actually listen to you. So in a weird way, it self-selects people, doesn't it, your price point? Correct.
And if you go to, for those of you, and I'm not being braggadocious, that stay at the RITZ like I do, or the big, you know, 5, 6, 7-star hotels, staying at a hotel is about the same price as this fucking seminar. And without me talking, flapping my mouth for 8, 10 hours a day. Sally and I know that, but I've had the same price point since 1999, and I didn't really realize till last year. One of the guys that went 99 went off, became very successful. He came back last year. And his name's Michael. He's a Dutch movie star. He says, what the fuck? How can the prices are the same as 99? Why haven't you changed them?
Talk to me about the castle experience, because like you said, we're dining, you know, fine dining. Last night we had a ceremony. We're dressed in kilts. There was a guy playing the bagpipes, the haggis, the piper. He had a demonstration where he announced the haggis and talked about the haggis, and you know, everything is 5-star. Dan, it's top notch. We have a free reign around the castle. I mean, you don't. I can walk anywhere in this castle and do anything I want. I can use Dan's gym. We can walk into his office, and it's almost like you opened up your home to everyone. And we're staying in the finest places. Like I said, the staff is top notch. The food is top notch. Everything runs on time. I notice these little things, Dan, and everything is smooth. How much of the castle experience is part of the QLA experience?
A great deal. As I said, it's the perfect metaphor for yesterday's dreams are today's realities. Because in spring of 83, and by the way, all of you read the Robb Report. I get nothing out of that. Read the Robb Report. It'll change your life. It's a magazine for influential and high-performance people. I'm reading the Robb Report, and it says castles for sale on islands. And I made a goal in March, April of 1983, and I moved into this place August 31, 1984, 17 months. I had no ability to pay for this fucking thing. I had no idea that I was going to come to the UK, and then I believe very much in goals and affirmations. I mean, a lot of things happened. Tens of thousands of permutations happened for me to put myself in a position. I made a shit pot of money. I took $60,000 and turned it into $100 million in 100 days, which, you know, non-internet, I mean, bricks and mortar, that's a big fucking deal. And would I have done that without the fact that I wanted the goal? But that's why the ambiance here, I mean, it's special. And especially when I'm talking about goal setting, and I'm talking about, you know, when I first drove across I wanted a drawbridge. We don't have a drawbridge, but that was part of my goal. When we drove across the bridge, and my young son at the time pulls on my arm and says, "Daddy, Daddy, we're home." Of course, I had no leverage with the seller. I mean, the seller was in the fucking car. And he looks up in the rearview mirror and he just smiles. You know, he knew he had me. I was hooked. But this is, you know, a castle may not be your dream. Whatever your dream is, I mean, this was the dream that I made came to fruition to QLA. I didn't call it QLA then. And we came up with the, you know, the steps of the 7 steps to super success. When I went backwards, I re-engineered what I did to accomplish to get here. And I have, you know, this is it. I mean, many of you watching and many that have come to the seminar have never been treated like this. They've never dressed for dinner every night. Black tie, you know, for the graduation ceremony. The ceremony, the pictures, the cameras, that we treat you like a celebrity. And we want you to get comfortable with being treated like a celebrity. And then we want you to demand it from yourself. Because if you don't make the paradigm shift, you know, it's not possible. You can't do this. I can't do it for you.
You know, a lot of people watching this, especially the London Reelers, which you call them, you know, the first thing they'll say
I love London Reelers now, though. I'm telling you, I love yous. I love yous.
He's projecting a Texan there. Dan does impressions from everything, to the Germans, to the Japanese, to the Texans, to the good old boys.
Big fucking hitter! Dan, you big fucking hitter!
And that was the name of our group for this week.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to address, I'm posting pictures this week, pictures of me in front of the castle. I'm in my suit and tie. I'm taking pictures in front of your cars. And you know, a lot of London Reelers are like, Brian, you know, it's not about the money. And I remember having the same conversation with Dan in my studio 6 months ago. And I'm like, Dan, it's not about the fucking money. And part of me thinks is that is always a good excuse. And also part of me thinks that this whole thing really isn't about the money, Dan. I think it's about the success, and it's about pushing yourself just to be better. And yeah, the money comes, and the money is a way of rewarding yourself and a way of keeping track. But it seems like there's more going on here than just getting the cash.
It's being all you can be.
Right.
I believe, you know, whether you don't believe in a higher power, Buddha, Allah, God, whatever you want to call it. I believe we were put on this planet, however we got here, either through evolution or by somebody went like this, because we were supposed to be all we can be, and we are undeveloped. Man's greatest burden is unfulfilled potential. Okay? And if anybody on this, watching this thing, can tell me that he's anywhere near his potential, I will jump off the fucking tower. I mean, with his hand on his heart and really believe it. I mean, because you're not. I mean, we have so much more within us. And if we're doing something we love, and I recommend, and when Dan recommends or suggests, it really means, listen, moron, fucking get off your dead ass, take, you know, and change your attitude. If you're not doing something you love and you don't have passion, that's why you're tired. That's why you need breaks on the weekend. That's why you need holiday time, because you're not doing what you love. And I love this, and for the last 21 years, this has been my passion. And most people are living quiet lives of desperation. I hate to tell you, or as the Brits say, I don't like to tell you, but that's the truth. And if you think any different, you're fooling yourself. And I'm sure that this is going to elicit some ugly remarks from those 4 or 5 people that love to pound me on the comments on YouTube, but it's the fucking truth. You know, I'm happy. In the seminars, I'm not making any money, but I'm still happy. So you're right. It's not about the money. It's about, for me personally, as an individual, almost 70, it's about the message. Yours is about the journey. Okay, mine's about the message. The message to get out to as many people as I can, because I know you can be more than you are. Not just for you, but for your family, your kids. And I tell people to be selfish. One of the bits of advice that I've given Brian, be selfish. Not selfish in a bad way, okay? High self-esteem people are selfish because they know that unless they love themselves and take care of themselves, they can't love anybody else. They can't have a proper relationship, and in my judgment, they can't really have a proper life.
You know, I was thinking about different people I know in my life, MMA fighters. That we had an actor in the group. I mean, other people that could get a lot of benefit from coming here. Not just the ones that want to go do deals, but just for people to take a long, hard look at themselves and be like, what are you doing? Why are you not doing it? Are you really scared of something, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's part of my thought process, was thinking a lot of, you know, non-wannabe Gordon Gekko types would still get a lot of benefit from this.
Yeah, and I'm an alpha male, okay, but most of you, 95% of the high-performance people on the planet, are not alpha males. They're, you know, more calm, serene, you know, normal, as you would say. 5% of us are the alpha male, Gordon Gekko types, Steve Ballmer types, and we played a video the first or second night where we shows Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft, making a speech to the Oxford Debate Club. Now, if you look at that and you look at me, you see a lot of similarity. He's an extremely enthusiastic guy. He jumps up and down. I've never heard him make a speech without using bad words. At the Oxford Debate Club, he didn't use one bad word, okay? But I think it's because it was at the Oxford Debate Club and it was on BBC and everything else. But there's only a few of us, a few guys like that. Most of the guys and I consider him kind of middle of the road. He's an alpha male, but he's middle of the road. He doesn't scream and yell and jump up and down. And then there's guys that are, you know, the diplomats at the way other end of the success continuum.
The Henry Kissinger side.
Correct, the Henry Kissingers. But you don't have to be alpha male. You don't even have to be as aggressive as Brian Rose. You can be a polished diplomat like Henry Kissinger and still be an extremely high-performance person and get things done. My benchmark, or one of the measures that I use, are you high performance? One, do you do what you say you're going to do? Okay? Are you genuine with yourself? Are you honest with yourself? And not everybody can do that, because being absolutely honest with yourself can hurt, you know, emotionally. And I'm brutally honest, not just with Brian and the other people that were here this week, but myself. You know, when I don't do something right, nobody beats me like I beat myself. You know, and some people just think I like to beat, but that's not true.
You know, one of the reasons I got a bit emotional at the end watching you on that 6th day is just because I figured, you know, just all of your passion and energy, you know, also in a weird way, it's fleeting, as in only so many people will ever get to experience this. You know, you're going to keep doing this for a few years, many, many, many years, I guess. What is your plan? Are you going to keep doing this every 2 or 3 months? Are you going to get, what are the Dan Peña plans?
The plan is that I'm going to do this 4 or 5 times next year. The first one is in January, depending on how the reality show goes, which will be very time-consuming, will depend on, and if the reality show is based around the seminar, will dictate whether I only do 3 or I do 5 next year. But I still travel a lot with my wife. I'm going to the North Pole because I've been to the South Pole. We're going to the North Pole next year, early year. But I get involved. I still have my portfolio of companies that I manage, and I continue to do that. But I do very little one-on-one consulting outside the auspices of the QLA seminar. And just so you hear me, because I do not do deals, I do not do business in any shape, manner, or form with anybody I have not personally trained at this seminar.
I didn't realize that until you said it this week.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, and I get all kinds of requests, and I tell these people on LinkFuck, FaceFuck, and TwitFuck, you know, I should just take out a fucking big ad, you know, in the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Times. I do not do deals. Don't send me shit. I'm not interested. I don't care if it saves the world. I don't care if it's a box that turns shit into gold. I'm not interested, because it's too hard for me to get people over the hurdles. And this way, I've had a week to study you. I've had a week to see if there's a chemistry that we can go forward. And it is a source of deals for me. It is, out of the seminar. And I pick deals from time to time. In fact, a couple deals from this last seminar I picked, or they asked me, and I said yes. I said, it's early days. Let's see how you get through the first few weeks. You know, somebody
that would be interesting.
Yeah, somebody asked me to do X, and he doesn't do his first 2 weekly reports. It's an easy filter for me. And I said, well, you know, I'll pass.
You know, Dan, I'm going to say what I said on our very first interview 6 months ago. After people watching this entire process that I've been here this week, they're either going to love you more or hate you more. I'm not quite sure which and how it's going to be received. I know you like that. You know, when I met you 7, 8 months ago, I was telling some of the guys here the story. You know, I didn't even want you on my show. I was ducking your emails, and you know, but of course when Dan Peña gets his mind on something and it's laser beam focus, to quote him, and you know, he basically made it happen, and I had him on the show. I had mixed feelings about Dan, and I think part of that came down to me, in a way, I could be wrong, but hiding from my own potential.
Yes. And he's got a big potential. You know, I'm not blowing smoke. I don't have to blow smoke, but he's a smart young guy. Now, you don't probably think he's young. To me, you're a kid. You know, I got these shoes I'm wearing, these wingtips are older than you. You know, and he's a smart kid. He's accomplished a lot. He's got a great fucking platform, and he can do a lot more with it.
Right, and I wasn't doing enough with it, and when you're running your own business, it's easy to coast because you're not getting hammered from the top. Since you're in charge, someone's not kicking you, and I think it's easy for me to create lots of subconscious dialogues and narratives in my head. Oh, Dan, it's all about the bucks. Dan's not happy, blah, 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 and so...
Am I happy?
Yeah, you're Dan is what you are.
Okay.
So I do think you are happy. I don't know what that means. I think you are in the moment, and you love what you do pretty much 24/7. That's what I think you do.
And I do it 24/7.
Yeah, I noticed that, and that shows around here as well. When Jan takes a break from the QLA class, we go have coffee next door, and we're all listening to him tell stories when he's having coffee, and then he gets back to the seminar and does it again.
And now, more recently, bulletproof coffee. Dave, you don't owe me anything. But I mean, but I'm going to up it up when I get back to Asia. I'm going to up it to 20 cups of bulletproof coffee a day to see if I can start jumping around.
Yeah, there's been a lot of bulletproof consumed this week.
Yeah,
both of us every day. Your staff's been making for me. It's been fantastic. Dan, you know, in conclusion, this has probably been the most powerful week for me in the past 5 years of my life.
Good.
It was big. I just want to make sure I capture this stuff. I take it back to London and I start making some big changes that I want to make. I can't wait for these weekly reports. I know you're going to stay on me like flies on shit.
Flies on shit. That's correct.
And I'm looking forward to that process. And it's still, every time I walk outside, it's just so stunning and beautiful up here. And it's going to be hard to leave.
Well, we'll miss you, and we'll look forward to you coming back soon.
All right, Dan Peña. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it very much.
All right, all the best.
Thank you, London Reelers.
Take care.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
This week on London Real, we have the entrepreneur and mentor, Dan Peña.
I'm part Freud, part General Patton, and part Jack Welch. Self-esteem is the key to high performance. You know, we only make changes for 2 reasons, Brian: desperation or inspiration. You can do anything you want that you have passion for, because that eliminates most of the crap, because most people don't follow their dream. Before I had any money, I used to go to the Rolls-Royce dealers and sit in the cars and smell the leather. Practice success before you're successful.
My audience is either going to love you or hate you. I don't know.
What gets measured gets accomplished. Perfection equals paralysis. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Dress British and think Yiddish. If you want to send your kids to a better school, if you want to be able to take care of your mother when she gets dementia, if you want to, this all takes money, not Zen.
On Sunday, London Real presents Dan Peña, your first 100 million.
When I see mistakes, if we were at war, we'd all be dead.